Move up. Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What
are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Beatty.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was.
June 1st, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. I am Errol. That is Speedy. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week. They're live, yes, on all the social medias. You can interact with all the different analysts on our network. Just go to the website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can check out the listings of every single show. And if you missed any one of the shows, go to the Apple Podcast, look up the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We have 1.5 million downloads on the Apple Podcast, and you can check out all the shows. It is fantastic. So anything that you missed on the Sports Loudmouths, Game On, The Wise Guys, whatever's on our network, you can check it out every single week on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, what's up?
Well, I am not a drug dealer, as much as people wanted to believe that yesterday.
Are you a drug dealer?
I am not.
Why did anybody think you were a drug dealer?
You said that yesterday because I was wearing a chain.
That wasn't yesterday. That was Tuesday.
Or Tuesday because I was wearing
You're
a
lost
chain.
there, Speedy. Are you just imagining that we had a show yesterday?
Maybe I am.
Well, we didn't have a show yesterday, but we have a show today. And we have a great show. But you did look like a drug dealer. You did.
Well, hopefully I look less like
You're
one.
wearing an affliction shirt. I like that, Speedy.
Yes.
That color looks fantastic. It looks like a duty. You know what it is?
A duty?
A duty. You want me to say
I do not want to explain what that is.
You don't know what a duty is?
I don't. And I don't want you to explain it now.
A poop in a toilet. You don't know what a number 2.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
All right. No, I believe you on that. I never heard that.
I mean, it's an awesome shirt. Okay, no problem.
You're not right on the you're not wrong on the color. I'm just saying I never heard that term for that.
I have no problem telling you how wonderful the shirt looks. It's just the color doesn't look right on you. I'm just telling you here. But it's a nice shirt. Where did you get it?
I would believe that is you know that answer.
I got you the shirt. Yes. I'm just messing with you. At 10 o'clock, we'll be talking to Devy Watch and the Scouting Academy football scout, Jason DiRienzo. That's that right? Am I right?
DiRienzo. Yes.
I'm right. DiRienzo. So Jason will be joining us, Mr. DiRienzo. At 10:30, we'll be talking to Georgia National Champion Bulldog senior defensive tackle, Warren Brinson. He will be joining us. I'm looking forward to getting Warren on. I know there's a lot of Bulldog haters watching this show and listening to the show, and I know there's a lot of Bulldog lovers. And no, he's not from the Alabama Crimson Tide. So watch your step, guys. This is a guy that has not one, but 2 national championships. So
you better watch out, Mr. Mark Kelly.
That's right. I did you reach out to Mark today?
I did not.
Well,
what happened?
I don't know, but hopefully he's okay, because he usually, after I text him before this show, he usually answers back. He never answered back. So, Mark, I hope you're okay over there in Alabama. Yeah, I'm not an Alabama person. Have you ever been to Alabama?
I have not.
I have been to Alabama. It's a nice place in certain areas. I mean, very limited areas, right by the stadium and right by the school. But anything on the outskirts, you better be. I would say you'd be packing a bulletproof vest or something. Okay, it's a little dangerous over there for somebody like me. But I actually enjoyed it. I never got a chance to visit Mark over there in Alabama, but I definitely will if he doesn't come back and move back to Long Island. Who knows what's going to happen?
He'll come back to the show in his suit like he always does.
That is true. We always see him in a suit. Why is that? Why is he always wearing a suit? I have never seen a person dress like Mark Everett. I almost called him Mark Andre Fleury. Mark Everett Kelly. I love Mark, man. Scottie Pippen takes a shot at Michael Jordan, calling him a horrible player or a horrible to play with. Okay, so I don't know what he means by that, but it's an interesting story. We'll get into it. Scott Perry will step down as the Knicks GM. Boo-hoo. Why do we care if Scott Perry stays with the Knicks or continues with the Knicks? The guy has done nothing. I mean, does anybody believe he was the reason why we went after Jalen Brunson? I mean, honestly, that is absolutely not true. And there might be some things that we're going to hear in the next couple of weeks. Maybe Scott Perry's heading somewhere else. So that's an interesting story. Pistons hire Monty Williams and make him the highest paid coach in NBA history. You said NFL history, right?
Oh, I did.
But NBA history, Monty Williams, congratulations to Monty Williams. Well-deserved. Vikings are likely to move on from their running back, Dalvin Cook, in the next few days. So somebody looking for a running back, is it the Giants, who might part ways with Saquon Barkley? Maybe they make a crucial move on deciding to trade Saquon and bringing in Dalvin Cook. Interesting story. It is. Tom Brady tells Sports Illustrated that he is certain he is not playing ever again. So we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to say this: never say never with Tom Brady. I don't believe that story. That's just my opinion. Noah Syndergaard says he would give up his I don't know. I don't know what he means by this, but hypothetical firstborn to return to his old self as a pitcher. What does he mean by that?
He's basically sacrificing his imaginary child.
He is sacrificing a kid that doesn't exist. What is he talking about? I mean,
it's no
is he lost?
Do we never know?
Is he lost? I have no idea what he's thinking about. Bracket war matchup tonight. Number 12 seed Sean White versus the number 5 seed Tom Brady. Number 13 seed Hank Aaron versus the number 4 seed Rafael Nadal. So that will be our bracket wars tonight. Interesting connections to all the contestants. So let's get into it. I will say this before we get into Scottie Pippen. And by the way, Kenny is writing to us already asking when could he talk. Kenny, you can call up 15, 20 minutes in to my monologue, okay? You have to let me speak a little bit before we let you come in and say your crazy stuff, okay? Because I don't know what you're smoking tonight. I don't know what you're drinking tonight. I don't know who you're hunting tonight or what you're hunting tonight. So, Kenny, you just have to relax for a little bit. Then you can come in and join us and say whatever crazy stuff you have to say today. Scottie Pippen says on a podcast of former Bulls teammate Stacey King that Michael Jordan was a horrible player. He also added, I've seen Michael Jordan play before I came to the Bulls. You guys have seen him play. He was horrible to play with. It was all a one-on-one, shooting bad shots. All of a sudden, we become a team and we start winning. Everybody forgot who he was. He was a player who was really not not on top of his category. It was just scoring. Pippen said about The Last Dance that he was nothing more than a prop. And they glorified Michael Jordan. Pippen contradicts himself about what he said in 2018 when he said Michael Jordan was the greatest to ever play, was the greatest to ever put on shoes and play in the NBA. No doubt about it. Scottie Pippen also said about LeBron James. LeBron will be the greatest statistically guy to play in the NBA, and there is no comparison with him or anybody. Pippen lists LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and Karl Malone as his top 5 players of all time, but says there is not a greatest player. I will say this about Scottie Pippen. I think Scottie's pissed off that Michael Jordan's son is dating his wife or ex-wife, that would piss me off. It would. I understand that Michael Jordan stands for what the Chicago Bulls were in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. I don't think a lot of people give Scottie Pippen enough credit on how great of a defensive player he was. I don't think anybody gives Scottie Pippen a lot of credit on what he did as the second guy, the number 2, the Robin of that Chicago Bulls team. And I would agree with him in certain categories on what he was saying. LeBron will finish with the best statistics in NBA history. He'll also play more games than Michael Jordan. He'll also play more seasons than Michael Jordan. And he also didn't take a break and come back twice. And Michael Jordan never went to a Game 7 in his career. Never. Now, a lot of people have their thoughts on who's the greatest basketball player of all time. And if you want to put LeBron in front of Michael Jordan, fine, do that. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, do it. Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, whoever you want to put in your top 10. Kobe Bryant, which I hear by many different people, which I think they're out of their mind. Rest in peace, Kobe, but I don't think you're a top 10 player. Scottie has this vendetta to Michael Jordan. I don't know why. I don't understand why. I honestly don't know why he's going on podcasts and throwing Michael Jordan under the bus. Did Michael say something? Did Michael call you and tell you you're an ass? Did Michael go on podcasts? Did Michael go on national TV and throw you under the bus? I mean, it comes back like on Tuesday when we talked about Aaron and Doug Mishkevich. Why are they talking? Why is Doug talking about A-Rod? A-Rod hasn't played for what, 10 years? Why is this been a story? Why are these stories all of a sudden? I don't understand it. I'm going to sit here today and I'm going to argue with Scottie Pippen. And here's what I'm going to argue with you, Scottie. Number one, Michael Jordan helped basketball grow internationally. The game wasn't as big as it is today without Michael Jordan. LeBron wouldn't be LeBron. The NBA wouldn't be one of the biggest organizations in the world without Michael Jordan. That's one. Number two, Michael Jordan, his sneakers have been number one on the sneaker charts for the last 40 years. 35 years, if you want to take 5 years off of it. Michael Jordan makes $36.5 million a year. Michael Jordan is the only player, the first player, not the only player, the first player to make money off his every single sneaker sold by Nike. He's the first. He's the first to ever do that. Michael Jordan bet on himself when he signed his sneaker deal. He could have went to Converse. He could have went to Adidas. He decided to go to Nike, which was the third best on the list of all basketball players going and wearing their sneakers. He changed everything. Scottie, I don't think when your sneakers came out sold more than $100 million worth. Michael Jordan, his first sneaker, the Jordan 1s, in the first year sold over $162 million. We sit here and I don't know, and you can argue and you can compare the greatest players of all time in basketball. You could really go up and down the list of players and say whatever you want to say from 2 on. But to say that Michael Jordan isn't the greatest basketball player of all time is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And to say that Michael Jordan wasn't any good, or I'm sorry, a horrible player, okay? A horrible player, and he was a one-on-one player, is ridiculous. Michael Jordan did what he needed to do to help his team win. Scotty, did you ever win a championship without Michael Jordan? When Michael Jordan retired for 2 years, did you win a championship? Were you the team player that you say you were when Michael Jordan decided to go play baseball? The answer, no. Were you good? Yeah, you were a good player. The 2 years, you probably averaged the most points you've ever averaged when Michael Jordan was retired. Michael Jordan comes back in the middle of the season. They lose against Orlando in the playoffs, and then he changes his number to 23. And then the next 3 years, they win title after title after title. And you're going to come out and say that Michael Jordan was a horrible player, a horrible team player? Meanwhile, we've heard Steve Kerr speak about him, John Paxton speak about him, B.J. Armstrong speak about him, Bill Cartwright speak about him, Luke Longley speak about him, Dennis Rodman speak about him. And Dennis Rodman played with some of the greatest basketball players of that era. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars. These guys are Hall of Famers. And Dennis Rodman said, Michael Jordan's the greatest player he's ever seen. He's the greatest player he's ever played with. And when I played with Michael Jordan, he made me better. He made me believe that I was the best player at my position. So again, let's go back to this. Scottie said on a podcast, a former Bulls teammate, Stacey King, that Michael Jordan was a horrible player. My answer to Scottie Pippen is, I think you should stay off the podcasts. I think contradicting yourself in 2018 and making yourself look like a complete idiot to the world only makes you look stupid. And the fact that you're coming out and throwing Michael Jordan under the bus, and I was not a Michael Jordan fan, I'm a Knicks fan. I hated Michael Jordan. To come out and attack this man when he hasn't said anything about you, nothing bad about you that I've heard, is despicable.
Yeah, and he's not an athlete that doesn't have controversy on him, like you were talking about with the baseball players yesterday. Like, he doesn't have any steroid lingering. He doesn't have any off-field issues, off-court issues that we knew about of him. He didn't.
No, he just played with the flu. He just was sick.
Right.
When he needed to shoot threes, he shot threes. Whatever he needed to do to help his team win, he did.
He wasn't involved in a scandal with shoes that caused people to die, or they were defective. Like, it wasn't any kind of controversy like that off the field or off the court like you see with these other athletes too. Yes, there are star athletes, superstar athletes, legends that are involved in all kinds of controversy. Look, baseball especially, look at all throughout history, or even going back to somebody like Ty Cobb. Like, it's one of those things that you don't have with Michael Jordan. Like, you have this with so many other athletes, and yet Scottie Pippen just wants to throw him under the bus as a person, as a basketball player, a horrible basketball player that was only one-on-one. You had to be one-on-one in that day in order to succeed. It wasn't as much advanced metrics to be able to do everything else. Yes, you needed to move the ball. Yes, you needed to switch and play defense, stuff like that, but it was all one-on-one basketball back then. Everyone was, especially like you say all the time, it's the most physical era in the 90s. So it's just very difficult to be able to not be a one-on-one basketball player and be successful as a whole too. And Scottie didn't contribute offensively like Michael Jordan did, and passing and all that stuff. Yes, he was one of the best defenders in NBA history, but as you said, on his own, he couldn't do anything.
I don't understand why Scottie Pippen is throwing Michael Jordan under the bus. I just don't understand it. Both of these guys haven't played basketball in over 10 years. And honestly, nobody cares what Scottie Pippen has to say. Nobody. I do want to say something and throw him a little bone. It is really, really funny that Michael Jordan's son, Marcus, gave his former wife a pair of Jordans. Okay. Bought her a pair of Jordans that are very rare, and she wears it all the time now. So now if Scottie has to see his ex-wife picking up his kids, he's got to see those Jordans that Marcus, aka Michael Jordan's son, gave to her as a gift. So congratulations to Marcus. I would applaud him. I would applaud him. And I think this all has to do with that. I think he's miserable because Marcus Jordan is dating his wife. And I would be pissed too. I wouldn't like it either. And Michael Jordan supposedly might be approving on it. I don't know. Michael Jordan's married to a beautiful woman. I don't think Michael Jordan cares. He owns 1 million golf courses. He's a billionaire. He doesn't care what Scottie Pippen has to say. I guarantee you he doesn't care what Scottie Pippen has to say. But Scottie is trying to sell something. He's trying to promote something, or he's just trying to throw something to stick to a wall. Okay? And it's not. It's not going to stick. I think it's a terrible, terrible story. And the fact that I'm talking about it makes me even dumber. Okay? It does. It absolutely does. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player in my eyes. I think Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete in professional sports history. That's where I think Michael Jordan is. And to say he was a horrible player, and maybe he wasn't nice. Maybe he wanted to bite your head off when he was playing. Okay. And I've heard that.
And gambling too.
I've heard that before. I've heard that by many players. Said he was a nasty person. When he stepped on the court, all he wanted to do was win. How could you hate a person like that? He won you 6 rings. He helped you win 6 rings.
How could you say that person's a horrible basketball player? Even if he wasn't the greatest, like, quote unquote person, how could you say he was a guy that doesn't have a flaw in his game? Is arguably the most clutch shooter, most clutch player we've seen. Doesn't have a significant flaw. Great defender, great shooter, great one-on-one player, Scottie. Like you said, how do you say that guy is a horrible basketball player and you would not want to play with him? All right, you want to go play with, I don't know, the Minnesota Timberwolves expansion team at that time? Like, is that what you want to play with instead? I don't know. Carl says Hugh Hollins with a miserable call against the Knicks cost him the 1 year. Pull up the video. I don't have the videos, Carl. I don't know who that is, but
I know who he is. Yeah.
Missed the call against the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Snug, it was Scottie Pippen's kid. Michael Jordan is a horrible player and a horrible player to play around. And he doesn't have the bankroll Michael has. He has to hustle a little. Well, if you're making $100 million as your top sale, that's 2 weeks for Michael Jordan now.
It's an obnoxious move by Scottie Pippen. It really is. I know Scottie's trying to be something of, I don't know what he's trying to do. Honestly, I'm kind of lost. I don't know where this story comes from. I don't know where the whole A-Rod thing came from, out of how many years these guys haven't played. They haven't played since, 2008, 2009 or whatever. Doug and him played as on the Yankees in 2008, 2009, and they were best friends. Now all of a sudden, Doug is throwing him under the bus. Doug Mickiewicz is throwing A-Rod under the bus. I think it's ridiculous. And now all of a sudden, Scottie Pippen is throwing Michael Jordan under the bus. What is this? What are these stories trying to do? What are they trying to sell here? I just don't understand it. I seriously don't understand these two stories. But again, it's a story, and that's why people are writing it.
Carl says also, remember when Pippen refused to take the floor against the Knicks?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I absolutely remember that.
I'm sure Michael Jordan never did that.
Michael Jordan at his Hall of Fame introduction and his 20-minute monologue about his career as an NBA player. He made sure to mention Pat Riley and how much Pat Riley wanted to hurt him and wanted to just put him in the floor, and that he mentioned Oakley not being his friend. He told Charles Oakley not to be his friend, not to hang out with him off the court, because, that's the way he wanted it to be. He wanted it to be a war between the Knicks and the Bulls. He also said that he loved John Starks because he was the biggest pain in the ass. He was like a flea. And he also mentioned Patrick Ewing. Patrick and him couldn't speak on the phone because Pat Riley wouldn't allow it. Wow. So the Knicks and the Bulls. I hated the Bulls. I hated Michael Jordan. But I'm going to sit here today and tell you, I hated Michael Jordan because I loved his greatness. I loved his greatness. I knew that when Michael Jordan would go to Madison Square Garden, he was going to put up a 50 spot. I knew it. I saw Michael Jordan play one time. I was 12 years old, 13 years old, 12 years old. My uncle took me and my 2 cousins, Jonathan and Doug, to a Knick game. We sat in a 300 level. And it was the first and only time I saw Michael Jordan play live. Michael Jordan scored 45 points in Madison Square Garden and beat the Knicks by almost 15.
Wow.
Okay? And I hated him. Absolutely couldn't stand Michael Jordan. But as I got older and he retired, and I go back and I said, who was the greatest athlete I've ever seen? I saw Tom Brady all the way through, Peyton Manning all the way through, LeBron James all the way through, Derek Jeter all the way through, Barry Bonds all the way through. You name it, I seen it. The greatest athlete I've ever seen dominate a sport the way he did was Michael Jordan. And that is a fact. I don't care what anybody says. Scottie, anybody says. And that's why he's worshipped not only today, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and he will be absolutely praised 50 to 100 years from now. Okay? I don't want to hear it about LeBron James, comparing him to LeBron. It's not a comparison. Stop it. The game has changed. It's become an offensive game. When Michael Jordan played, you could practically toss him into the second level of the seats if you wanted to. Shaquille O'Neal used to powerbomb him on the floor. Give me a break. It's just horrible.
Against him, you probably have to try that.
It's horrible. Newsday says that Steve Perry reports, Newsday Steve Popper reports that Scott Perry will step away from the Knicks when his contract expires this year. Perry has been with the Knicks since 2017 and 18 this season, just after Phil Jackson and the Knicks parted ways. Many reports believe that Perry didn't have as much of a say with the Knicks offseason decisions last year. I was one of them. With Worldwide Wes and Garrison Rosa having more of a say behind Leon Rose. Reports believe that the trade for Cam Reddish in 2022 was a big part in a decision to give Perry less say in the other offseason decisions. Tom Thibodeau did not like the trade for Reddish either, and barely giving him any playing time. The Knicks have 11 first-round picks in the next 7 years, despite not having any this year. Perry was a big part in the draft, in drafting R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson and signing of Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. Well, I sit here and I could go up and down and I'm reading what Speedy posted over here for me to read. And honestly, Scott Perry's been with the Knicks for a while. He's been with the Knicks for 7 years. He's done nothing. Okay. I don't want to hear that he was the reason why they went after Jalen Brunson. I don't believe it. The reason why Jalen Brunson wanted to come here because his father was on the coaching staff. That's a fact. Okay. Tom Thibodeau hired Mr. Brunson to be one of his assistant coaches on the bench. Not Scott Perry. Not Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson wanted to play with the Knicks. He's from New York. He grew up a Knicks fan. His father is a coach on the bench. That had nothing to do with Scott Perry. Julius Randle, he can take him, okay? I understand he was an all-NBA player twice since he's been here. Good for him. Go look at his numbers in the playoffs. They're horrible. R.J. Barrett had a very good playoff run. I would say this was, I guess, his understanding of what he needs to do season long in the NBA, which he doesn't do. R.J. Barrett is expendable, and he probably will be in the next 2 seasons. Mitchell Robinson, another good contract by Leon Rose, can't stay healthy. Is he a great or good all-around defensive big man in the NBA? Absolutely. Offensive player, he's horrible. He is not Jokic. He doesn't pass. He can't shoot. He's terrible at the free throw line.
Under 50%.
So he's expendable too. So what? If somebody's giving you credit about Jalen Brunson, okay? Honestly, I'm not taking shots at Scott Perry. I'm not trying to hurt Scott Perry. I don't really care that Scott Perry is gone with the Knicks. I think Scott Perry's upset that the Knicks decided to bring in Worldwide Wes and all these different guys to help out with Leon Rose, and he has no say. Even when he was sitting next to Leon Rose and Worldwide Wes throughout the playoffs, you could tell he wasn't happy. And what I'm going to say here is the New York Knicks need to figure out what their identity is this offseason. Is Jalen Brunson the number one guy? Or is it Julius Randle? And if you decide Julius Randle isn't the number one guy, then you have to move on with him. You got to stop holding on to a guy that throws up bricks in the big game, and he doesn't, I repeat, doesn't like to pass the ball. He has hurt this team. He's hurt the development of the younger players. Here's this. When Julius Randle, during the season, was off the court, R.J. Barrett played his best games. Mm-hmm. What does that tell you? It tells you that R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle do not work good together. Watch the Denver Nuggets. Watch what this team does. They share the ball. They know who their star is. They know who the best player on the court is. And they make sure that he can handle the rock in certain positions and pass the ball in certain positions when it causes double teams and triple teams. Julius Randle doesn't do that. Julius Randle, if he's double or triple team, he'll still shoot it up. He'll still force a shot. And I will tell you this. How many times in the playoffs this year did we see Julius Randle go to the free throw line, and can't hit a free throw?
Especially in the fourth quarter.
How many times did we see this? This has been a problem for the Knicks for years. And now at his highest point again, because last year wasn't a good season. Finally, they get another good season with Julius Randle. I would move him this offseason. He doesn't mix with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's not going to complain. He's not going to go out there and throw Julius Randle under the bus. But we've seen Julius Randle throw this whole team under the bus last year when everybody was screaming MVP when he had his MVP year the year before and he was finally an all-star. Everybody was screaming MVP. And then last year, him not showing up at the end of the season, everybody was booing him and he practically gave him the finger.
Yeah, Scott Perry, you want to take credit for Julius Randle? Yes, he's improved from what he was.
Take him.
That's all you're getting because, again, he hasn't really proven anymore since that season as well.
Please take him.
Because he hasn't shown up in the playoffs. You could say, okay, the first year, all right, it's his first playoff experience, even though I think he played a little bit with the Pelicans, but he wasn't the full-time guy. First year, all right. But now it's a second year, and he still has been disappearing. He had one good game against the Cavs. He had one good game against the Heat, and that was it. He was horrible besides that. He was shooting teams out of games. And like you said, R.J. Barrett and him are very similar types of players. So R.J. Barrett and like they're on the court, they don't complement each other well either. So yeah.
How about this? Go look at R.J. Barrett's free throws during the playoffs. And how many important free throws he was hitting during the playoffs.
Right. And he had like one bad game against Cleveland. Besides that, he was good. He was pretty good.
He was pretty good. And by the way, last year, what was his weakness?
Free throws.
Free throws and shooting.
67%.
It went up almost 5 points.
Right.
5 points. And he did it in the playoffs. He was hitting his shots. He was hitting his free throws in the playoffs. Something that we probably wouldn't have seen 2 years before that. We see growth of R.J. Barrett. But listen, R.J. Barrett is expendable. If the Knicks could go back before they re-signed him, before they gave him a 4-year deal last year, they absolutely would have traded R.J. Barrett for Donovan Mitchell. 100%. They weren't ready to move on from RJ. They definitely weren't ready to move on from Quentin Grimes either. Was it a mistake? Probably. Maybe it was Scott Perry that stepped in and said, no, we're not going to do that.
Probably was.
I don't know. I don't know what 2 cents he had during the last 2 offseason. I really don't. But what I will say about the Knicks, good riddance. I don't want Scott Perry. I never liked him. As a matter of fact, Speedy, if you remember when we were watching the playoffs against Miami, when we saw him out in the audience sitting next to Leon Rose in Worldwide West, I told you, what did I tell you? Get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of him. That's what I said on the show. Anybody remembers, I can't stand Scott Perry. So hopefully he finds a job. I don't wish that upon anybody. But good riddance. Please take Julius Randle with you. Please do that. Take him away. I don't care. And wherever you go, maybe you make a trade with the Knicks and trade one of their best players wherever you go for Julius Randle. Do something. Go to Chicago and give us Zach LaVine. All right. I'd like that.
Yeah. Before we get to Kenny, shout out to some of the new guys in our comment section. Dennis Variel, Aaron Ryan, Vizal Bugzita, and Renan Villanueva. Now we have Kenny on the line.
Hey,
Kenny, what's
I
up, bro?
extended my live stream on Twitter, so I told the co-host more like 45 up. So I got 5 minutes. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Kenny? What would you like to talk
football
about?
season looks pretty good. Giants look like a tough schedule, but you're in the playoffs. It's always going to be tough. But it looks like one they might be able to handle with a good record.
If they could do well in the beginning of the season, because they have 3 different sets of 2-game road trips. They have 2 different sets of 2-game or 3-game road trips, Kenny. It's going to be hard.
Kenny, let me ask
you. If I could get another, I saw practice last year. I might try to see another one.
Kenny, let me ask you a question. You think the Giants are going to have a good year?
I think if they stay healthy, yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. This is a really good question. Saquon Barkley decides to sit out for the first couple of games until he gets his contract, or maybe they trade him. Let's say they move on from him and they don't bring in another running back and they use whatever's on that roster. Okay. Who's going to be there?
What if he stays?
Okay. What happens if he stays? He is going to be in a pissy mood because he doesn't have his contract. And right now, without that particular player, don't go.
What if he gets his contract before the season? Then what?
He's not getting a contract. They're not paying him.
No?
That would have happened already.
They're not paying him. Joe Shane is not paying him.
Then maybe they'll get somebody good for him. Who knows?
What are you going to get for him? A 3rd-round pick? 4th-round pick? You're not getting anything for him. You're not. He's a running back.
Well, did they get anybody new?
What do you mean?
A 5th-round pick running back.
They got a 5th-round pick running back. And maybe they go after Dalvin Cook if he becomes available, but he's going to want money. He's going to want to get paid. So you're going to pay Dalvin Cook maybe $2 million less than you would pay Saquon Barkley, who's played in this offense, who knows this type of offense, and he's been he carried 76% of the offense last year.
Is Cook good?
What? Yes. Cook is good, yeah, but he can't stay healthy. He can't.
That's a problem, as Dave Chappelle would say. That is.
It's a problem. So let me go back to you. Let's say Saquon does not play this year. Who's their number 1 target?
I don't know.
Do you know who they traded for this offseason, Kenny?
Who?
Darren Waller. Did you know that, Kenny?
Do you know who Darren Waller is, Kenny?
No, not in the top of my head. Explain.
Okay. Darren Waller is a tight end who was drafted by Baltimore, who was seen by our friend Gruden. He was traded after a preseason game to the Raiders. He had 3 really good seasons with the Raiders, and the last 2, he can't stay healthy, and he had a pretty good quarterback throwing him the ball. So you're going to trust in a tight end who's never played in this offense before, and by the way, can't stay healthy and hasn't been healthy for 3 years. Okay?
What are they thinking when they do that?
I don't know. So
all they had to give up was a 3rd-round compensatory pick. They traded for Tony.
If they don't make the playoffs, I go with the ropes. Maybe your Jets will make it or root for them. There you go.
I'm not speaking about the Jets right now. This is you called up about the Giants.
Right. I root for my team. If my team fails and one of the other New York teams, the one that actually plays in the state or the team that shares the stadium, I'll root for them. There you go.
Well, the one that's actually in New York might be getting Dalvin Cook because his brother's
there. You know what we need to do?
New York, no matter what. Even if the Yankees are out and the Mets are in, I'll root for them too.
You know what we should do? I'll tell you what we need to do. Okay, we need to find A good goose, okay? A good goose
Okay,
that
but
can
you
carry
know
a
what,
football.
guys? I have been communicating with Bobo from O&A. He does a sports show. I might go on there one day.
Who's Bobo? Bobo the clown? Who's
No,
Bobo?
Bobo
the goose.
from the Opie and Anthony show. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go on
Yeah,
Bobo's
and
show.
we're communicating. He does a sports show now. He's a big Mets fan, so I can.
So
Right.
Are you going to call Bobo and talk about all the
And
different...
he's a Giants fan, so there you go, man.
All right. So you better get your information right before
And
you
this
call
week
another
I
show.
go on Reality Based. It's by a guy I interviewed. He goes live now. He gets a slightly bigger audience than me, so bring his audience over to me.
Well, look at you,
And
Kenny.
to the show that's on your network too. That's
Oh
right.
my God, Kenny, you are amazing.
What are you going to
This
chase
is
geese?
great.
What are you going to chase geese on your show?
I want to see
I
that.
can say, you
I
know,
will
if
tune in
it's
to
the
watch
World
that.
Cup, all your soccer fans will talk about soccer. That'll get them right over. That's right.
I'll tell you what.
He's Welsh, so he's live in Wales.
So you should bring a soccer ball to the goose pond over there and see if they know how to kick a ball. What,
Oh
what do you think?
no, I'm just saying, like, so it would be 5 p.m. Saturday, and
Look at him promoting other people's shows. I love it.
I'll be on there. I'll be promoting your show on there, and
I love
I'm
you,
doing
man.
an
I love
art
you.
event. My art is in the WCC building in Peekskill, New York, for the whole month of June, starting this Saturday.
Look at you.
And it's open. It's open studio. So if you guys come this weekend, there's all the studios are open.
So hold on one second. You want me to go to the city, to go into a studio and hang out there?
No, in Peekskill, New York, not the city.
What the? Why the heck would I go over there to Peekskill or whatever the hell it is? Why would I go
hang
there?
out in the studios? All the studios are open. You get to
Kenny,
see all of them.
I have
Everybody.
a studio. I have I could sit in a professional studio right now. I'm sitting in a professional studio right
They're
now.
all
Why would I
art
want to go all the
studios,
way
not recording
upstate?
art.
I said, what the heck do I want to go into an art studio for, Kenny? I
See, my art
is
is
there
in
any
one,
pictures
and
of
there's.
Is there any other paintings of Errol that he has to say?
Oh, please.
I'm saying this is the only time that they're open, and my art is in one studio. You don't want to see that?
Kenny, I've seen a lot of your art. You sent me one of your art pictures. I actually
I'm
framed
saying
it.
I don't think you've seen this art, and it's in there, and you don't have to come to the open
All
studio
right.
weekend.
I'll
There's
tell you
a
what, Kenny.
reception a week from now, and it's there all month, so you can come anytime you want.
I'll tell you what, Kenny. You pick a day, not this week. You pick another day, and I'll come upstate to go and check out your art. How's that sound?
Right, and anybody that isn't an on-air person, like Kyle or anybody, can come this weekend or at the reception or anything, even Snug the cat. That's right. I know he's listening.
Snug loves you.
So, Snug actually has a question for you, Kenny. Who will win the FA Cup this weekend, if you even know what that is?
He has no idea.
The FA Cup, do you know what that is, Kenny? Snug wants to know who you think will win. All righty. Snuggy has no idea. And he also asked...
what is it? Explain before I have to leave the conversation.
It's probably a soccer thing, because you mentioned your friend is good with soccer.
Kenny,
Well, I'm saying that I like the World Cup. I do watch us and maybe a couple other teams.
All right,
so I'm
I have
fan
a
of
question.
that.
I have a question for you. You watched the World Cup this year?
A little bit.
Who won?
I don't remember, but I remember the U.S. men lost, so I watched a couple of their matches.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to do well. They were going to be like
it was last year.
middle
The
team.
women's U.S. are
The women are always the
winners,
favorite
so-
for the U.S. Yes.
Well, it was last year, the
Did
World
they play
Cup.
yet?
My friend went to the World Cup last year.
You almost went too.
I did.
That, yeah.
I almost went. I was very, very close of going to the World Cup. But come on,
So
take a
don't
guess.
the Yanks get all their guys back soon?
Well, they're not getting all of them back. They're getting Giancarlo Stanton back. They just lost Bader again. He's on the 10-day IL again. So who
And they're
knows?
getting the great Josh Donaldson back.
Josh Donaldson back.
So they're getting some key guys back.
But they're winning. I mean, they played very well against Seattle, a team that
Yes,
what did
they
I
won
tell
that
you?
whole
It was going to take a
series, so
step
that's
back this
good,
year.
and hopefully they beat the Dodgers. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Kenny, for calling.
Thank you for taking. Maybe I'll see some of you at art thing.
Yes, Kenny, you are the best.
Right. If you're going to not come to one of the events, drop me a text, and I'll make myself available when you guys see this.
Awesome.
You bring the family. That's right.
Awesome. You know what? Are you going to be smoking there?
What?
Are you going to be smoking there?
No, I would not smoke marijuana in front of children.
I didn't say
I
smoking.
do smoke a little nicotine now, so that might be at distance. So there you go.
Oh, there you go, Kenny. I didn't say smoke in front of kids. I said, are you going to be smoking before you go there?
Probably not. Maybe after.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you. Wonderful, Kenny.
All right, but I'll
you,
be
Kenny.
also promoting to all the studios at
All
a
right.
point.
Awesome. You're the man. Kenny Rayner. The wonderful Kenny Rayner. He chases geese, as we all know, likes to smoke weed. I mean, he is a smoker. He's a puffer, all right, and he loves to drink his beer. So
if he's a puffer and he
became
a puffer fish, would a puffer fish be able to chase down a geese or chase down geese?
What is a puffer fish? First of all, I've never heard of it.
It's a sea creature. So if a goose is in the water, would he be able to chase it down?
I don't know, but I know he likes chasing geese.
He does.
He's an interesting cat, man. And I maybe one of these days I will go upstate just to check out his paintings and stuff like that. He did send me a nice painting. I did frame it. So hopefully very, very soon I will put it in the studio and we'll have something to look at.
But he's still 5 years overdue on that turkey dinner.
Yeah. Well, I actually owe him a dinner. I'm going to take him to a dinner and he's going to meet an NFL player. So an ex-NFL player, an ex-Giant. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't care. He first tried to get me to get Daniel Jones. And I said, Daniel Jones is not going to want to go to dinner with you. He doesn't know who you are. I mean, I am going to have to go to the bottom of the bottom ex-Giant players to want to go to dinner with you. He doesn't even, you're 6'6". You're always out there and an interesting fellow, let me tell you. But I love Kenny. He has a good personality and definitely is an interesting call. So thank you to Kenny.
Snug says, Man U versus Man City is what the FA Cup is. I'd love to go put him 3 miles away. I'd love puff, pass. That's the rule for you. For Snug.
Monty Williams agrees to a 6-year, $78.5 million contract to become the next head coach of the Pistons. It will be the largest deal for a coach in NBA history. The Pistons were 17-65 this year, the worst record in the NBA, and haven't won more than 23 games in a season in the last 4 years. Williams had a 194 and 115 record in the regular season with the Suns and had a 27-19 postseason record. Williams won Coach of the Year in 2021 and was runner-up to Tom Thibodeau in 2020. The Pistons have former top 5 pick Cade Cunningham, who can't stay healthy, and Jaden Ivey, who looked really good this year, to build around. And also have Jalen Duran, who had a nice rookie year. The Pistons have not had a winning season since 2015 and have not made the playoffs since 2018, when they were swept as an 8th seed against the Milwaukee Bucks. I love Monty Williams. And if you know the story about his wife and him raising his kids and all the trials and tribulations this man has gone through, he deserves it. I don't know why Phoenix fired him. I don't blame him for what happened to them in the Western Conference Finals. I really don't. Honest to God, I have no understanding why they would fire a coach after they lost their point guard for the whole series. It's not his fault that they brought in Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant affected the chemistry of this team. The same team that, 2 years ago went to the NBA Finals. So I love Monty Williams. I think he's going to do a great job with the young players over there in Detroit. They need a good voice over there. I think Monty Williams will be a good voice for the young players. I love Cade Cunningham. If he could stay healthy, this kid could be a sensational player. He's a great guard that can shoot. He can go to the hole at will. He's a good free throw shooter. He's everything you want in a guard. And I absolutely love Jaden Ivey. I wanted the Knicks to get him. And I know the Knicks were interested in moving up to get him, but there was no way Detroit was going to pass up on him. And I think in the next 2 or 3 years, he will develop into one of those guards that you're going to love. I think he's that talented. He can shoot. I don't know if he's a 3-point shooter. He's a great perimeter shooter. He can go to the hole. He can go to the free throw line. He could defend multiple positions. So I really do like Jaden Ivey. So I can only say this. Hopefully, Detroit puts enough pieces around Monty Williams so he can develop these youngsters. And I think that if he does that, they haven't done it in a long time. They haven't done it since Larry Brown. But I absolutely believe that if they put the right guys around these 2 young players, they can absolutely play a playoff team. And in the Eastern Conference, anything is possible.
Yeah, and you look at this move, too, being a very progressive move for today's NBA, too, because the Pistons were kind of stuck in mediocrity kind of after Larry Brown and that 04 championship team. They were making the playoffs a couple times, but they never were a powerhouse the same way. They made the playoffs as 6 seeds and 5 seeds. And again, they had tough defensive teams that had good toughness as a whole, physicality, but they never were adjusting to the modern NBA, and then they were stuck in average. So they never got the lottery picks. They never got the top players to build around after that. And finally, they started to transition to get younger. And this is the perfect coach to do that, because Monty Williams, when he first came to the Suns, they weren't as bad, like record-wise, season to season every year, but they were consistently out of the playoffs, 11th, 12th in the Western Conference too, even with Devin Booker. So they had to build up that way. They had to draft a lot of guys in the top 10, like right outside the top 10, because the Suns didn't get a lot of lottery luck either. They were drafting 6 a lot of the time, except for 8, and they were drafting 6 and 11 and then 10 or something like that. And they had to develop Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, and Monty Williams is a big part of
Devin
that.
Devin
Booker too. And Monty Williams deserves a lot of credit. Even New Orleans too. Look at his last couple of years there. Anthony Davis was there the one year, then he was traded to the Lakers, and the young players they got back, a lot of them developed because of Monty Williams
helped
too.
develop Julius Randle too.
Right.
I mean, Julius Randle was not a good player when he came from the Lakers. When he went to the Pelicans, Monty Williams was the coach. Who do you think helped him develop a shot, helped him develop his game inside? It was Monty Williams.
Same kind of thing with somebody like Brandon Ingram too, who a lot of people were calling a bust after 3 years, and then he got a second wind with the Pelicans because of Monty Williams, and now he's become one of the better young players in the league too. And those players all started with that, even though they didn't. I think they only made the playoffs once as an 8 seed. It started the foundation for what they have now too. Now, obviously, those players have to stay healthy, especially Zion, but that team is now thought of in a different light. And the same kind of thing with the Pistons, that they're going to have to be thought of as a different light because they were stuck in mediocrity and just being so old and just so like big man reliant forever, which is not the same concepts you want in today's NBA.
I will say this for all the Detroit fans, for all the people that have been waiting for this team to get back to the playoffs, I think they found the right guy. I don't know if he's worth the money that they're paying him. I mean, that's a lot of money. 6 years, $78 million. He's the highest paid coach in NBA history. But if there's anybody that can take this team to the playoffs, is there anybody that can take these youngsters and develop them? It's Monty Williams. So I think this is a good move by them. I think they jumped on Monty when he became available. I really believe as soon as he was fired that day, they reached out to Monty Williams, his agent, and made sure that they closed in on him. I think it's a good move by Detroit, and I think we're going to see this Detroit Pistons team in the playoffs a lot sooner than you think. So congratulations to Monty Williams.
And I think that maybe they had to overpay too, because you wonder what kind of competition was out there too, of other teams that could have fired their coach, other teams that did fire their coach when Toronto fired Nick Nurse, Milwaukee fired Mike Budenholzer, Sixers with Doc Rivers. Like there's going to be competition from teams that are like more win now teams. So maybe they had to pay him a little $2-3 million extra per year more, or give him the 6th year that maybe another team wouldn't have. So it's interesting to think, but again, it's a chance that I think worth taking.
Tom Brady told Sports Illustrated that he is certain he is not playing again. Brady recently purchased a small stake in ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders. While him having a stake in ownership wouldn't legally stop him for playing for the Raiders, Brady squashed that idea. Brady will also begin a 10-year, $375 million broadcasting contract with Fox Sports in 2024. The Raiders have 4 quarterbacks on their roster currently, including Jimmy G, who failed his physical from the Raiders, and Brian Hoyer is the backup. So we all know who Brian Hoyer was. He was with the Patriots. I think all 4 quarterbacks actually played for the Patriots at one point. So I do not know what Josh McDaniels is doing. I honestly don't. And we sit here today and we hear what Tom Brady. I don't believe, and I'm not taking shots at Tom Brady. I think he's one of the greatest players ever play this game. Okay, I really do. And I never liked him because he played for the Patriots, and I'm a Jet fan. I cannot believe Tom Brady, if Jimmy G cannot play this year, and the contract is null and void, that Tom Brady wouldn't put on a Raiders jersey and helmet and go and play. I can't see it. I really can't. And for him to say that he's certain that he's not going to play, I think he said the same thing when he retired for what, a couple of months? And then he decided to play one more year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that it all depends on this Jimmy G situation. If Jimmy G cannot play and he's not 100%, which he failed his physical, they have a couple of weeks to get him healthy enough so he can take his physical again. If he can't pass that physical and they null and void his contract because it says it on the contract that if he can't pass a physical that they can dispute the contract. If that's the case, are they going to trust that Brian Hoyer is going to take them to the promised land in the AFC? Not a chance. Not a chance.
And good luck trying to keep all those other players happy that have been disgruntled all offseason, too.
And there are no quarterbacks that are going to be available when they find out what's going on with Jimmy G. So there's only one quarterback that is retired that knows Josh McDaniels' offense and that you can depend on. And you don't want to piss off Davante Adams. He's already pissed.
Yep.
Okay? You do not want to piss off Davante Adams knowing that now Jimmy G is not playing on this team for this season. And this is another year that he loses where he wants to win a championship. And you paid him over $100 and some odd million. He's the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. It's not going to make him any happier. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee you he's going to demand to be traded. He doesn't like Josh McDaniels, but he's going to take it and he's going to ride it because he's closer to his family. His mother's very sick. He's been dealing with a bunch of family situations. He wanted to move closer to his family. He's from that area. And he wants to be where his family is. But if he doesn't have a chance to win, and he doesn't have a chance to have the numbers or put up the numbers that he wants to put up this year, because he's not only trying to win, he's trying to make it to the Hall of Fame. And you could say whatever you want. Every single great player, when they step on the field, every single year of their career, they want to put up the numbers because they want to have a chance to make it to the Hall of Fame. And Davante Adams, having Brian Hoyer throwing the ball for 18 weeks makes absolutely no sense. And Josh McDaniels, I don't care how much of a mastermind Josh McDaniels is, because that same guy decided to draft Tim Tebow in the first round. I'm not taking shots at Tim. I love Tim Tebow. He's a nice guy, great guy, not an NFL quarterback. He probably, if he didn't get drafted in, if the Broncos never drafted him, Tim Tebow probably wouldn't have been drafted in the first 5 rounds.
Right.
Okay? That was Josh McDaniels' smartness or his brainiac thought that Tim Tebow was going to be a star quarterback in the NFL, which was a joke. So I will go back to this again. When Tom Brady told Sports Illustrated the other day that he is certain he is not going to play this year again, and he'll never play football again, I will go back to it again in another 6 to 7 weeks, and we can argue that, because I really don't believe Jimmy G is going to be healthy to play this year. I really don't. I think Tom Brady knew that. I really do. And I know that if Tom Brady has an opportunity to step on a field with Davante Adams and Renfro and Jacobs and this offense, which is better than the Buccaneers offense. I'm sorry, it is. It is. It's better than the Buccaneers offense. I don't want to hear it. They have one of the most underrated running backs in the league, who had no offensive line last year.
Still better than the Bucs.
Davante Adams, who going into the season last year was the best wide receiver in football. And he probably, we would argue that he was the best wide receiver last year. I mean, his numbers show he had Derek Carr and that slimy little offense last year, which made absolutely no sense, the way they were using him in the offense. They have Renfro, a guy that plays like Julian Edelman and Wes Welker. He's that type of player. I absolutely believe that if Jimmy G cannot stay healthy and he does not get that contract and they decide to dispute the contract, I absolutely believe Tom Brady will play one more year in the NFL.
Before we go to break, Slunk says, all hail the Brady GOAT. And Jeff, yes, he can actually legally be the Raiders quarterback.
Yep. We looked at it. Mm-hmm. He can actually, just so you know, Jeff, he can actually take his stake and put his stake into one of his kids' names or whatever, yes, and he can play this year. He can absolutely play. He can take, I looked this up. Tom Brady could put his stake in one of his kids, and he could play this year. And then when he retires again, he could take over the stake again. So, yeah, do I think Tom Brady could do it? Yes. Do I think he should do it? I wouldn't mind seeing Tom Brady this year in the AFC. I mean, we talk about, and we will get into that after our first two guests, because that's a great argument. When you look at the quarterbacks in the AFC, they're absolutely ridiculous in each division. There might be 2 or 3 teams that I can honestly say don't have a quarterback that has played in a Pro Bowl. Okay. That's the crazy thing here. It is ridiculous. When we come back, we will be talking to Devy Watch and Scouting Academy football scout Jason DiRienzo here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows. They are live throughout the week. You can tune in, go look at the menu key and the show times. You can check out all the shows, including the Sports Loudmouths, which airs every single Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m. live and in color all over the social media markets. You can check out all the different platforms we are on by going to the website. If you miss any of the shows, you can go to Apple Podcast. You can check us out. We're on Spotify. We had over 29,000 listens last month. So a lot of interesting back and forth banter on all the different shows. So check out the Worldwide Sports Radio website by going to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our first guest of the night. We haven't spoken to him in about over a year. It's been crazy, but looking forward to hearing from him as he has his own thoughts to the NFL draft and this offseason with some of the hires and fires and new quarterbacks on other football teams. We are now talking to Devy Watch and the Scouting Academy football scout, Jason DiRienzo. Jason, what's up, bud?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight? I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We see you're in a nice background. You have a nice green screen back there. You look great,
I do, man. I've upgraded since the time we've been on. I've done some work here.
Yeah, and it looks good, man. It looks great.
I appreciate it.
And
trying to keep up with you guys,
Well, what can I say, man?
Trying to get all pro here.
Well, we have a little bit more, we have a little bit more green on our screen, if you know.
Nice.
But we're very happy to have you on, and let's get into it. Before we get into it, how are you and your family doing with COVID? How's everybody doing? Everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's good, man. It's that was a rough road for a little while there, but it's been smooth sailing for a little longer here. And here in Florida, man, it's we're getting to that summertime, so trying to enjoy the outdoors before it gets too crazy and spend some time with the fam. The heat will get to you. It
86
will.
degrees in Long Island today. 86.
In
I hate
Long
the heat.
Island. Wow.
Yeah, it is hot. I do not like the heat.
No.
As anybody have heard me on this show or anybody have seen me in person, they know I can't stand the heat. I can't stand sweating. I can't stand the people tell me, oh, I love the summer. I don't care if it's 100, 105 degrees. What are you, nuts? The one thing I know about the heat is if I'm hot, I have to take off all my clothes. And then when I go down to my boxers, I have nothing else to take off. So how much better am I going to get? I have to live in a swimming pool. I don't want to do that. But in the wintertime, if I'm cold or whatever, I'll put on another coat or put on a
You have the
sweatshirt.
opportunity to do something like that when it's hot, man. You got nothing. See, I think I would lose my mind where you are if it was hot. And I know that sounds crazy coming from Florida, but at least I got the ocean. I got the pool. Like there's ways of like making it enjoyable. Like my brother lives in New York City and he tells me about the summers. I'm like, dude, how do you deal with summers in New York where there's no breeze? You got the buildings. Like, no way, man. I don't think I could do it.
Well, we have the beaches over here. We're in Long Island. We have a ton of beaches.
Right. Where
wineries.
you are. Yeah, I can understand that. That makes sense.
Yes, but I don't go in the water because I don't like sharks. I used to be a surfer. Okay. I hate sharks. And how many sightings that we've seen over the last couple of years, tiger sharks, great white sharks, hammerhead sharks last
you guys
year.
have definitely had an uptick for sure.
I mean, why would I go in the water? I don't even put my feet in the water. I'm afraid they're going to come up and bite my feet off. I'm not afraid of nothing. I just don't like sharks. Okay. There's something about them. They come right under you. They pull you under and then you don't even know what's grabbing on you. I mean, if it's an alligator or a crocodile, they usually attack you from up top. So at least you know you're going to die. With a shark, they pull you under. I mean, it's not Jaws. Okay. I don't believe in that whole, pulling you down and yank you. I don't believe that, but
I'm a little opposite of you though. So I don't mind the sharks and I like surfing too. I don't like the alligators, man, because it's the murky water. They pull you down. They do that death roll thing. Like at least a shark, if they bite you, it's usually by accident. Like they think you're a seal or something. Like gators are literally out to just freaking kill you.
Yeah,
So,
but the thing about gators is there's a way to defeat a gator. Okay. And if you grab their beak and you hold down to their beak, I call them beaks.
It just sounds funny the way you say it, but I know what you're talking about.
You grab their beak and you squeeze onto their beak. If you squeeze on to the tip of it enough, it scares them. It has like some kind of vibration to their tail. And they either run away or they're afraid. So just like they say,
I never knew that.
Yeah, well, I watch
idea.
I watch a lot of gator things on YouTube. If everybody wants to know,
You make a better Floridian than me. Look at you, man.
Also, gators. If you push up, you push up from under their mouth. They don't like that. It throws them off.
I have heard that.
It makes them dizzy. So
I just never really wanted to find out if that was true or not. So I never really took it.
You think I want to go to a 20-foot gator and try to do that to a 20-foot gator? I don't think so. But I mean, if a gator's after me, I'm going to do everything I can to
Oh,
survive.
you're gonna do what you can. Absolutely.
Give me a
It's good to have
baseball bat, I'll
the
take some
arsenal of
swings at
moves under your belt, right?
I am a mixed martial artist, so maybe I'll put him in the rear naked chokehold or something.
I'll get
I don't
jack
know.
of all trades, man.
There you go, man. What could I say? Maybe a
Nice.
triangle. I don't know if I'm going to put a triangle on that mouth. But anyways, let's get into it.
Let's do
The
it, man.
NFL draft. I know there's a lot of Dallas haters, and a lot of people have over the last couple of years attacked Dallas. I mean, we heard Jerry Jones last year practically gave away information on how he drafts and made the whole press. He made his son say, "Dad, shut up," at the press conference. He likes to throw, he likes to throw bones to the press. What did you think about the Dallas Cowboys draft this year?
You know what? I cannot even recall the Dallas Cowboys draft right now, honestly. I got so embedded with getting over the rookies that I kind of lost track of it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick though.
We have it. We have the Dallas draft right over here.
All right,
Number
let's-
one.
Tell me what you think, and I'll give you my thoughts on their picks.
All right. So we all know Maisie Smith.
Defensive tackle, yeah.
Defensive
I like that
tackle
pick.
from
Yep.
Michigan.
Yep.
A lot of people question where he was picked. Okay. Some people thought he was going to fall out of the first round. And
I thought he was going to fall out the first two, but I understood the necessity of having a guy with that kind of explosive athletic ability at the defensive tackle position.
let me ask you this question. And we've seen a couple of Michigan defensive linemen be drafted over the last couple of years in the early rounds. Where do you rank Maisie Smith out of all the defensive linemen that were drafted over the last couple of years?
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, he's definitely not up there by Aiden Hutchinson. I can tell you that right now. I mean, I would say that it depends on the positional advantage of defensive tackle or defensive end. But I would, man, defense has been one of those that I haven't followed too much, but Aiden Hutchinson's the one that stands out to me, and he's not even close. I would honestly say that I think that Dallas Cowboys understand how he's going to fit in their scheme, and that is why he went so high. Each team has their draft boards completely different based on the usage of a player. They valued his skill set a lot higher than others, obviously, which is why they took him where they did.
And at number 2, Luke Schoonmaker, which a lot of people
way too high.
A lot of people question that pick at number 2. And I understand they're looking for offensive weapons to help out Dak Prescott because they have really none. I mean, they have CeeDee Lamb, and that's about it. I mean, Zeke's gone. He's not coming back. I know everybody thinks, and we have a fan out there that believes that Zeke is a better running back than Barry Sanders, which was absolutely ridiculous. And
that's
just
crazy.
a ridiculous take. But nevertheless,
yeah.
I questioned the Cowboys draft this year. Last year, I thought their draft was pretty good. I know a lot of people going back to Maisie Smith. I know they wanted Will McDonald because Will McDonald visited the Cowboys twice, and he sat down with the Cowboys, and I think Will believed that's where he was going to. I don't think Will believed that the Jets were going to pick him at 15. I heard through the grapevine that he was the Jets' number 1 pick no matter what, unless one of these offensive linemen were actually still sitting there at 15. They were going to draft Will McDonald. So I was not very fond of Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys draft this past year.
Yeah, the tight end pick that early, especially for a guy who had very limited production, and they went back to the Michigan well on that one too. That's interesting. I don't understand it. I think there's the athletic upside because he did test very well at the NFL Combine, and I think they're just going with that athletic upside. But there were a number of tight ends, if they wanted to wait, that they could have chosen that have that athleticism at the same time. I think that there was someone, in the organization banging the table for Luke on that one.
So what about the quarterbacks? Obviously, there's a debate of the 4. Like Bryce Young was a lot of people's number 1, but it wasn't obvious. Some people like Stroud. Where do you stand on those 4 quarterbacks? And also with Will Levis, you're surprised he fell out of the first.
Yeah, I'll start with Bryce Young. The conversation about him being too small, I mean, that's a real thing, guys. I mean, he's definitely made history with that pick and being the number 1 overall pick as well. It's almost not fair that he was born at that size with the skill set that he has. It's like not fair for him because his skill set is definitely second to like an Andrew Luck type skill set based on what I saw. Right. So he has all the tools. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. Keeping him healthy needs to be the number 1 priority for the Panthers. It has to be, because if he goes down, they're back to square one again. I mean, they signed Miles Sanders and they signed a couple of veterans, Adam Thielen, and they're still hoping for something from Terrace Marshall. Like, they're obviously trying to just retool that offense. Bryce Young can elevate the players around him. So I think he can make that team better just by being, under center. But that pick, I don't question, but they're going to have to protect him. CJ Stroud is another one where, man, he had a Cadillac of offensive weapons that he played with at Ohio State. I almost want to say that the receivers that he had at Ohio State were probably going to be the best receivers he'll ever play with. And so seeing him go to the Houston Texans, I understand exactly what they did. It was actually interesting that they moved up to take Will Anderson. And then take CJ Stroud. I love the idea of what they did. They got the 2 guys that they wanted, and they made sure they got a quarterback. They could not have left this draft without a quarterback. The Texans need to make sure that happened. But Stroud has a long way to go. I mean, I think he's got the arm talent. I think it's under pressure in the pocket. is where we're going to see him get exposed, because that's exactly where he got exposed at Ohio State. So that's what I want to see, how he handles that his freshman year, or his rookie year. Geez, listen, man, college all recruiting and stuff.
Well, his freshman year, it is.
Yeah. I mean, basically his freshman year. So how he handles that, is he going to overcome the adversity of the sacks that he's probably going to take? You got to hope so, because if not, we're going to see another instance where there's ghosts that he's going to see, and hopefully that's not the case. So
is he Sam
oh God, I hope not.
Darnold?
Yeah, I hope not. And I think CJ Stroud, he's a competitor. He's got great character. His work ethics, very good. But again, they have the new testing that they do, and he scored a 19, which is really low. So his processing needs to be quick, and
I don't believe any of that, by the way.
I don't either. But it's almost like they just want to check enough boxes to feel comfortable with certain things, and that's the mental processing is definitely something that
I have a few quarterbacks that scored low on those testing. Drew Brees, he's a pretty good player. Tom Brady. We all know who Tom Brady is. Russell Wilson, we all know who he is. I mean, that's just 3 that I know that scored very low on those tests and are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, Russell Wilson's still on his way to that, but those other 2 quarterbacks, they didn't score very high on those tests, and look where they are. So,
right. Well, it's not the Wonderlic anymore, and I can't remember the name of it.
Well, it's the same damn test.
It's the same type of thing, right? Just to get an idea of how intelligent and how quickly they can process information.
Listen,
but that's going to be the number one thing I think with Stroud, is just how he improves in that area.
By the way, we are talking to Devy Watch and Scouting Academy football scout Jason DiRienzo. And Jason, I want to say this.
Yeah,
I don't believe in any of those tests, okay? Because how many players have we seen do so well at the combine, and it really had absolute great numbers, and they get drafted high. One of them ran a 4.3 or 4.2. He was drafted by Washington, and the guy was an absolute bust. And you know who I'm talking about, right? Wide receiver, Speedy. You remember who I'm talking about?
The receiver.
Yeah, Speedy. You know what I'm talking about?
Moss?
No, it was a couple of years ago. You remember who was drafted in the top 10? He went all the way. He went all the way from, everybody thought he was a late first round, maybe mid-second round draft pick.
Oh, wait, John Ross. I'm thinking Commander. Sorry. Yeah.
Washington.
That's what I was thinking too. Is
Commanders. I was thinking Commanders at first. Yep. Sorry.
That's where I got thrown off.
It was John Ross, and he was an absolute bust. Okay. And he scored very high at the combine, and he was an absolute horror. Vernon Gholston from the New York Jets, another one. Who scored so high. I mean, he was putting up weight like it was nothing. He was like paper. And then all of a sudden he goes into the NFL. I don't even think he had a sack. Okay. So, and that's just 2 guys that I can remember that just completely bust. And how many first round picks ever turn out to be any good? I mean, honestly, the
percentage is really low for sure.
I mean, you have a better chance of finding a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round that becomes stars than you do in the 1st.
Yeah, and I think that's why NFL teams are really trying to gather as many picks as they possibly can now and take as many swings at bat to make sure that they can hit on some of these guys, because they understand the bust rate. But that comes down to their coaching too. And that's a whole different topic.
So a lot of people graded Pittsburgh as their number one draft board. And everything Pittsburgh did really stood out. I mean, moving up and getting the offensive lineman that they desperately needed in Broderick Jones. And then getting the number 1 pick in the 2nd round, which they bring in an old friend's son, in Porter. So, and they breezed in the draft, and there were players that fell to them and you go through it. Remember the Jets draft last year, and everybody was like, wow, what a draft. I could say the same about Pittsburgh's draft. This could be the draft that kind of changes and transitions them into that contender again for the playoffs. What did you think about Pittsburgh's draft this year?
Yeah, first off, where the Bears actually took when they traded for, what is going on here?
The Bears traded for.
Yeah, when the Bears traded for Chase Claypool, that was going to be their pick, where they took Joey Porter, where the Steelers did after a couple trades. So I look at that and I'm thinking, you know what? Taking Joey Porter there, he is perfect for the Steelers defense. I absolutely love that pick, especially with the history there. You know, he's a lengthy, athletic, aggressive corner. I thought that was phenomenal. And then Broderick Jones in the first round. I mean, he's a left tackle. I honestly think he could be a right tackle, but shoring up that offensive line is definitely going to be key for the Steelers. And everything that they have tried to do tells me that they are, one, trying to protect Kenny Pickett, and two, they want to run Najee Harris a lot. And that's where I'm a little bit higher on Najee Harris in fantasy this year, because I can absolutely see the path for him getting more touches and
Can't
more
stay healthy, man.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
But the path, I mean, they are setting it up. And I like that a lot.
I loved Najee Harris. I thought he was the best running back coming out of the year before's draft. And I said it. I did not like ETN. I really didn't. I know why. I know why they drafted him, because they wanted this was Trevor Lawrence's room buddy or whatever the heck. And ETN is a good running back, and he had a good season last year. But a lot of fantasy guys think that he's going to take a step back this year. So they're going to be more of a throwing team than a running team this year. But I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers now. I think the Steelers needed to really hit a home run in this year's draft, and I think they absolutely did it. Joey Porter Jr. was one of the bigger corners in this year's draft. He has size, he has the ability to step in. His length, he's a hawk on the ball, and he's a speed demon, and he's very, very smart. He's a very smart corner, and some people kind of compare him to Sauce. I don't think he's anywhere close to Sauce's talent, but because of his length and his ability to hawk balls down, a lot of people try to compare him to Sauce Gardner. There's another team, and by the way, we are speaking to Devy Watch and the Scouting Academy football scout, Jason DiRienzo. There is another team that a lot of people really, really liked this year. Was it the Atlanta Falcons? What did you think about the Atlanta Falcons draft this past year?
Well, that was an interesting one with the pick of Bijan, for sure. I mean, this is a team that needs a lot. So taking a running back in the top 10, I think they take him at 8th overall. Like, I understand the impact that a guy like Bijan Robinson can make, but I really felt like this team needed to do a lot more. I think they took an offensive lineman as well. I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to recall. Syracuse tackle. Yeah. And I like that pick a lot. I think that they're doing a great job of making that offensive line, pretty solid for a guy like Desmond Ridder, who I think is a dual threat, but is going to need as much protection as absolutely possible. They have taken Kyle Pitts, they've taken Drake London, and now they've taken Bijan Robinson. I think that's their last 3 years worth of picks. They are trying to get playmakers put together to score as many points as possible.
Zach Harrison was their 3rd round pick. A lot of people thought he was an early 2nd round pick. Clark Phillips, the 3rd corner.
Clark Phillips, I like
had
a lot. Undersized, but
had a very good season last year. Some people thought he was a top 100 prospect. I thought they hit a home run on this year's draft. I really do. Now, I don't know. A lot of people think they're a top 5 team and they can make the playoffs. I just, maybe in the NFC.
That's got to be based on division.
Well, the NFC stinks. So maybe they sneak in. I mean, because I don't think, even though the NFC East is so wide open and you don't know what the Giants are, you don't really know what the Washington Commanders are. And we know what the Cowboys are, but are they going to be any good this year? Because they really didn't change any offensive weapons this offseason. So I don't know what they upgraded on the offensive side of the ball, which was really their weakness all season long. And we all know who the Philadelphia Bulldogs are going to be. Okay, so they're the most talented team in the NFC. I mean, they're going to be beaten up on teams. But Atlanta, they're in a division that's wide open. They're in a division that, hey, doesn't have Tom Brady anymore. It doesn't have any competition. I don't think. Now, Carolina is a team that people are, they think because of what they did in the second half with the offensive line, their defensive line was one of the better defensive lines in the second half of the season. And now that they have a quarterback, and a new coach in Frank Wright, they could take 2 steps forward. And San Francisco don't have a quarterback, or they might have one in Sam Darnold. Who knows? So there's a lot of questions in the NFC, but in the AFC, there's a lot of what's going to happen. And I think That's the questions with all the quarterbacks. You're talking about so much talent in the AFC. So we look now, and my question to you is, you look at the AFC, and a lot of people think obviously Kansas City is going to be the favorites of winning it again this year. It's not very easy to do it back-to-back years. As a matter of fact, who was the last team to do it back-to-back? The New England Patriots.
It has to be the Patriots,
Yeah, it was the New England Patriots, and that was that was a long time ago. That was with Tom Brady. So it's not easy to do, but the NFC with you have Sean Payton coming to the Broncos. That's going to make Russell Wilson a lot better. Now you have a happy Baltimore quarterback over there, who I know I mention his name all the time, but everybody, he's his own agent, and he wanted a big contract. He got it after Jalen Hurts had his. Where do you see the AFC falling this year? I mean, if you look at the AFC, from the AFC East to the AFC North, the South, the West, where do you see the AFC falling the way the talent is just up and down the board?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that the Bills are going to contend. As a matter of fact, I just feel like they are primed and ready to just kind of take off here. Josh Allen just continually improves. I really feel like Gabe Davis is going to take another level in his development. Khalil Shakir was actually a really underrated pick that they had in last year's draft. I think he'll be up and coming. And then, Damian Harris replacing Devin Singletary. I like that. I think he actually fits what the Bills do. So it's the loss of Tremaine Edmonds. I'm wondering how that's going to be replaced in the defense, but I just feel like the Bills know that this is their time and they're going to try to take advantage of it. But dude, we can't overlook the Bengals. That window is about to slam shut. I feel like as soon as they have to pay Joe Burrow, they're really going to be limited on what they know they can do with the whole team as far as cap space. And then they know they have to pay Jamar Chase also, and they want to try to keep T. Higgins. I mean, you can only keep so many things intact without limitations that you're going to have to face in the future. So I really feel like this is such a fun division for me because there's so much talent and there's so much upside. And look at I feel like the Dolphins know that they're on the rise as well. All they keep doing is adding speed and more speed to that offense. It's going to come down to whether Tua is going to be healthy and what he looks like. He looks like he's putting on some weight, getting more solid so he can be stronger in the pocket. But I think the Dolphins are a bit underrated too. They've made a lot of moves over the last couple of years to put them in contention as well. The Jets, I mean, they're about to have Aaron Rodgers. I think that AFC East is going to be a lot of fun, and the Patriots are going to be kind of looking from behind, watching everything happen. It's
Don't
just
bet
so
against
weird.
Bill
I
Belichick.
know, but man, let's put it this way: on paper, I mean, the Patriots don't have anything close to what those other three teams have. And that's where it's like, how are you going to compete with what these three teams, the Bills, Dolphins, and the Jets have done to improve their teams? It's just kind of crazy. And the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, I mean, I feel like the AFC North, I mean, there's so much talent in every single one of these teams just keep adding. I mean, it feels like the Browns are just going to Brown again. It's all coming down to Deshaun Watson. But the Steelers, I think, are underrated too. I mean, if Kenny Pickett takes a level of development there, I mean, I think George Pickens is going to be just fine. I think Deontay Johnson's going to be just fine. And then between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, I mean, they could really pound the ball and get back to Steelers football. So it's and then the Jaguars, man. I mean, look what all the Jaguars have done. They just keep adding weapons as well. The Titans, I think that quarterback situation is just terrible. I wasn't high on Will Levis at all. I'm glad they didn't try to sneak him into the first. I think where they took him in the second was a little bit better. So now there isn't as much urgency to force him in there. But and then the Colts with Anthony Richardson's going to need some time. I mean, they took him way higher than I ever expected a guy with his particular type of production profile and skill set to be taken in an NFL draft. Like, he changed everything for me of how I evaluate the position. That athletic upside, I mean, he's in prime position with the coaching staff he has to develop, but it's not going to happen year one, and then the Texans have CJ Stroud. So, I mean, I don't want to sleep on the Jaguars either. I think Trevor Lawrence is phenomenal, and he knows how to elevate guys around him.
Well, he looked good. I will say that.
He looked much better, that's for sure. But I also think it's because they added weapons, and Calvin Ridley is just going to help him even more.
Yeah, well,
All right, one last question for me. One fantasy sleeper, one fantasy bust for you this year.
Ooh, fantasy sleeper. Man, that is not really a sleeper. I just feel like CeeDee Lamb's going to explode. I really do. He's not. I know that's not like a sleeper, but I am going to be aiming for him in every single draft.
He's their number 1 and number 2 target.
Yeah, like he's everything. He's everything for them. So
I'll be very surprised
I want
he's not throwing the ball to himself.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, I want CeeDee Lamb no matter what. Like I'll be targeting him all over the place. But I think Drake London. Same reason. I think they have Matt Collins and Scotty Miller, and that's really it. We just talked about the Falcons. I think Drake London's gonna freaking explode this year as well. And I think Bijan Robinson's only going to help open up that passing game, even though he's going to need some targets too. Drake London commands targets, and he's a red zone threat. He's going to get double-digit touchdowns.
Well, before we let you go, okay, quickly, all right, because we have Warren Brinson coming in, and he's a national champion, my friend. So you have to listen to this interview. We're going to have a little bit of fun with Warren.
I'm excited for it.
But here's the question. I know a lot of people are questioning what the Jets did. Okay. A lot of people are questioning, oh my God, they traded 2 first-round draft picks when they really only traded 1. Okay.
Really?
So,
thank you.
And it's Aaron Rodgers. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is the missing piece to take this team to the playoffs and maybe make a run for a Super Bowl for the first time in over 50 some odd years?
You know what? I do. Because I honestly think Garrett Wilson is the truth. They have a ton of talent there. Breece Hall needs to be healthy, but I think they took Israel Abanikanda in the draft knowing that they want to run the ball. They still have Michael Carter there. And Aaron Rodgers has always done a lot with minimal talent around him. This is going to be the most talent he's had. I mean, I think he's going to look at Garrett Wilson like Devontae Adams.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? And that's where Garrett Wilson's another one that's going to freaking pop off. I mean, some of these second-year guys are just going to go crazy, especially the positions that are now. But yes, to answer your question, I do think Aaron Rodgers is the key for sure. That you need a quarterback. What better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers to put in that spot? They know it. That window is about to shut too, and they want to make sure that they have everything in place to compete with the divisions that we just talked about.
Absolutely.
Or with the teams.
Jason, we'll talk to you soon, as always. Don't be shy, okay? I know it's been a year and a half. We want you to come back on a lot sooner than later.
I'll be back on, guys. I appreciate it.
I love the background. I love the green screen. You're looking good, man. Keep shaving your head, man. I mean, it is a little hot over there.
Always got to keep it clean.
I mean, listen, women think bald guys are sexy. I don't know. I mean, you have probably a wife, so who knows?
My wife's amazing, and she loves it. So that's all I can say. It works.
I mean, I've got to say, I don't know if I'd shave my head. I mean, it would make a lot of my facial features look a little bit more bigger than usual. So I'm not doing that. Anyways, we love you, man. Thank you.
I love you guys too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jason DiRienzo, fantastic guy. He really is funny. Good and good looking, man. I mean, serious. Speedy, he's a green screen. He's looking good, man.
Very nice background.
He's looking good, and I'm happy for him. He's doing a great job over there with the Scouting Academy football, and he's doing his thing. I know he was at the combine. I know he was at the draft. So good for him. He's been a busy dude. When we come back, we will be talking for the first time to another Georgia Bulldog, a national champion, actually a 2-time national champion, defensive tackle, Warren Brinson, here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Oh, I like this. The ladies hip hop. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, PD. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all of the shows throughout the week. Guys, Game On, the Sports Loudmouth, which we air every single Wednesdays live at 7 p.m., Thursdays at 9 p.m., live and in color all over the social media markets. And if you miss it, you can go to Apple Podcasts. 1.5, actually, moving on to 1.6 million downloads on Apple Podcasts. So thank you to all the fans that tune in to us to our craziness, crazy interviews. And by the way, great interviews and great guests. And we have one about to come on with us. We are now talking to national champion Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle, Warren Brinson. Warren, what's up, bud?
What's up? How you doing, man?
I like the purple in the background.
Man, it's a late night. I'm trying to soothe my mind, get ready to go to sleep. You know, turn the blue light on, get you tired. Round out my night the right way. Talk to y'all. Hope we have some fun.
Oh, listen. Whatever you're doing in behind closed doors, please keep it to yourself, my friend.
Only thing I do here, this is my my gaming setup area. I play UFC a lot, so I got UFC on in front of me. Actually, I'm not playing right now, but I was playing the game.
Well, I know my partner over here told me you're a big UFC fan, so we're going to get into that in just a few moments. I think we have an echo. I don't know where the echo is coming from.
Oh, I have y'all connected to a speaker.
Oh, it's, all right. That's fine.
How does that sound?
I think we're good now. I think we're good.
Right,
that's great. Awesome. As everybody knows, we are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle, Warren Brinson. So, Warren, I mean, the last 2 years have been just, I know, I can't get any better. I mean, 2 national championships. I mean, you have all these great defensive players coming out and going into the draft, being drafted in the first and second round. I mean, we now have the Philadelphia Bulldogs just completely dominating that are going to run the NFL for the next couple of years. Jordan Davis, probably a friend of yours. We all know about Carter and Nolan Smith. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be good for many, many years to come. What were your thoughts to some of the players that you have seen come out from both those classes and really just are going to good teams and going to shine in the NFL with the teams that they're going to?
I mean, they're all good guys. And one thing you can remember about those guys that started on defense, they're all good leaders individually. That's what made our defense so good. We had all stand-up guys in every position. They're all individually good leaders. So those teams are inherited some really good players with good quality. They know what hard work is. They know, like at Georgia, you have to work hard to be here or you're not going to survive. So they know what hard work is. And NFL, the way you last and survive is just through hard work and grit. You got to be determined to make it through it. So, I mean, I'm proud of those guys because I watch every guy I watch in practice is like, man, you can go play in the league. Like it's a lot of guys like that on our team that can make it to the next level and will make it to the next level. It's very rare you see defenses have every player drafted, you know? And I mean, we're just blessed, honestly. We were put in good position, had good coaching, everything came together. One year we worked our tail off. And I mean, now we're reaping the benefits of it. If you win a national championship, obviously those guys did something right. So teams should draft them, you know?
So you actually were part of that very rich defensive tackle group the last couple of years, obviously with Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt was also a first-round pick with the Green Bay Packers, and obviously Jalen Carter, who was probably the best defensive player in college football this year. So what have you learned from them on and off the field? What were they like as teammates?
Me and Jalen came in together. We were actually roommates. Me and him, we looking at the standard that JD and Devontae and Trayvon set. It was more of just trying to uphold that because Coach Scott always preached there's a standard, there's a quality to play. Like D-line at Georgia, like it's the backbone of it. If you want to stop the run, you got to be able to have a good D-line. Our coach, Trey Scott, puts us in great position. He's developed tons of guys and turned us into really great players and run defenders. I mean, I feel like you don't learn anything individually from one person. We call ourselves a unity. So a unity is thinking, feeling, being as one. So we all learn from each other. So if JD does something crazy, we be like, oh, JD, that's fine. Let's try that. If I do something crazy, then everybody else in the D-line will be like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to try that move. Like, me and Jalen used to go back and forth in practice and play like pig, like doing pass rush moves. Like, he'd be like, what move should I do? Jalen is one of the craziest players I've seen by far. Like, he'd literally ask me what pass rush move, and I'd be like, go ahead, spin move. Go ahead, hit cross chop. It'd be like that. That's how you get your toolbox. You got to build a toolbox of rushes. So we just always just be random with our rushes and be spontaneous. So we all learn from each other. This is a big, fun group, man. I loved it. I miss it, honestly.
Well, don't be missing it because you could win another national championship. That would be 3 for you. We are now talking, and we are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Warren, tell us a little bit about Kirby Smart. We all know he's a genius. We all know he comes from a huge amount of trees from Nick Saban. I mean, trees of coaches. And this guy has been the most successful coach off that tree. And we've heard that he's an exciting coach. He's a guy that really gives information to the players. What type of coach, in your view, is Kirby Smart?
He just gives you a lot of tough love, man. He's 100% real. He's not gonna fake it to you. He's the same way through recruiting, through being here now. And he's gonna be hard on you because he wants the best for you. And you got to realize when coaches yell at you, it's not the tone; it's just the message they're trying to give you. And Coach Smart you can tell he's doing the right thing. And even when he'll have past players come talk to us, and those guys will get. Georgia's a brotherhood, no matter who it is. Like 2 weeks ago, I never met this guy ever, but I golfed with No Sean Moreno. I got his phone number. We were texting earlier today. So, I mean, it's a brotherhood. When you get to hear other players talk about how they thought of Coach Smart, because sometimes, we might think he's an asshole, but realistically, when you get through it and realize he's hard on you because life is going to be hard on you. And as a young man in this country, you have to provide value for yourself. And it's going to be hard. So he's being hard on us to prepare us for what the real world is like, because once football is over, I mean, it's the real way. It takes over. So I respect my coach a lot. I'm happy for the things he instilled in me. I'm a senior, so, I mean, I'm going to use the values that he put in me in real life situations,
So both
Nothing's going to be harder than no one's going to be harder on me than Coach Smart, maybe my mom.
Well, my mom can't walk anymore, so she can't really run after me. So.
Wow.
I'm not making fun of it. As a kid, I used to run from her when I did something wrong. She'd have a paddle or try to run after me with something. So
I could never run. My mom was an athlete, man. She'd catch it to me fast. I would run and you just
So both national championship runs, what were some of the main differences in terms of like the culture, the vibes on campus, even off the field with some of the students that were on campus? And then what was the differences between 2021, the first time Georgia won in a while, and then last year going back to back?
Bro, after the first one, it was no difference. I had school the next day. People partying after this. I went back to class, man. I had school. It was no difference at all. I mean, we did win a national championship, so, NIL came in during that time, so it helps you a lot more, honestly. But besides that, man, it was really no difference. And the culture of this past year's team compared to that one, that first culture was just like, I remember during the spring talking, it was a group of us in the room, like me, a couple other guys, James Cook said, y'all, we're going to win a national championship. Like he turned the music off and looked at all of us and said, y'all, we're going to win a national championship. And he looked at me as an upcoming sophomore and was like, Warren, you're going to be a part of this. I need you to work. And when James Cook told me that, man, I was like, man, I got to work my ass off now. So, I mean, but guys like Kieras, he stopped. We're in the party. We just chilling, man. Stop the music. Y'all, we going to win a national championship, bro. We got to work. Like, this is a regular Saturday. And it's like, y'all, we got to work this year. So that's the mindset everybody had, was just work and let's win the national championship. Because we, as Georgia, y'all know, like, I wasn't here for 2016. I think that was that year, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't here for that, but I mean, everybody knows what it is. You wanna break that little curse.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we just got the work and we set a standard and kept up to the standard, and we were blessed to win the national championship, hard work pays off. And in this past year, people say that it wasn't doubt on Georgia, but I feel like people were doubting us a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Just from the outside, I don't really look at social media a lot, but when you look at people like, oh, everybody with the defense is going, what is Georgia gonna do? All these guys got drafted, they lost all these guys, bro. The clip, we still got bullets in the clip. We reloaded, man. y'all chill. Just chill out real quick. Let us go do this. Coach Smart build the formula. Coach Sinclair build the workout plan. Let's go do this again let's push it to another level.
Right.
Let's go do it again. Push it to another level. Be harder on ourselves. Hold the standard a lot more, and try to do it again. And the hard work paid off, and we were blessed again. And then this year, it's the same thing. Just let's hold the standard even higher. All right, let's do more to elevate the standard. Let's do more to be accountable for ourselves. Because being accountable is the best way. If you have a team of guys that aren't accountable, they're going to just be pointing fingers. You got to be self-accountable, knowing what your mistakes are and what you have to do. And if you're self-accountable, it's going to help the whole team. If you got to be it's an extent you can be selfish with yourself, but at a certain point, you got to be selfish and working hard for yourself to help the whole entity of the team, because you got to do your 111 to help everything work. Because if I mess up, it's been multiple times in games where I messed up and dang, a big run happened. If you just have to, there's a lot of self-accountability this year. We're still finding our way with the leadership roles. We got a lot of guys that just step up, but there's a lot of new faces here, so it's more let's not bark at people. Let's be leaders by what we do. Be leaders by how we work.
By example, yeah.
Yeah, be leaders by example.
We are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Warren, there was a quarterback over there that won 2 national championships for you. A lot of people were questioning the type of player. He's a party animal. I saw Bennett celebrating with Cristal his first time. After this championship, he was drinking his wine, drinking his champagne, whatever. He knows how to party. And he was drafted in the 4th round this year at 128th. By the Rams, and a lot of people questioning the Rams drafting him as high as he did. Were you surprised that Bennett was drafted as high as he was? And tell us a little bit about him. Is he a quarterback that could succeed at 5'11" in the NFL?
How tall is Russell Wilson?
About that.
About 5'11".
How tall is Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Shorter.
How tall is Bryce Young?
Shorter.
Okay, then. What does Stetson do?
5'11".
Win. And that's what he does.
How many national championships does he have?
2.
Obviously, he did something right. He's a winner. If you want a winner on your team, you want a quarterback who comes from winning coaches. Stetson, he came up clutch multiple times. You can't doubt him. I don't know why people are doubting him. Maybe what's the reason to doubt him? We won 2 national championships with him as quarterback leading our team.
So
not everybody's perfect. People bring up his mistakes, but overall, he helped lead us to a national championship twice.
What type of leader is he?
More of this how he works, bro. It's just Stetson. He just makes plays. He does the Stetson things. Y'all seen him run in Georgia Tech. This man took 7 yards to the crib. We were on the sideline and it's just, bro, at Georgia, we all hang out with each other. There's a big brotherhood. Everybody has their own quirks, their niches, how they act and stuff. And we all accept it for who they are, because it's a big organization, a big group. We're just one big organism. Everybody's different. We know that's gonna be the case in our locker room, but guess what? We come together for the G. We're a team. So all of us love each other equally. And everybody's funny. I can walk up to Stetson anytime and say something, and he'll laugh, or Stetson tell a joke. You can't, how you had locker room jokes and stuff.
Of course, when I played on teams too, yeah.
Stetson would hold back. Stetson would fire something off too. I love Stetson, bro. His story too, he worked.
Mm-hmm.
He worked. And what happens when you work hard, it pays off. He's blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy he got the opportunity. I know a lot of people are doubting him. I'm just happy he got the opportunity now. Now he can prove himself.
So is there any SEC team, because there's a lot of tough rivalries out there, is there one SEC team that you played against that you just absolutely could not stand?
Alabama.
Not Alabama. Probably Tennessee, just because they go fast and that week of practice is so hard.
Did they really play you as hard as any other team in the last 2 years?
Yeah. Their offensive line, their offensive line was pretty decent. They were good. Tennessee, that was a boxing match. It wasn't. I know the scoreboard looked crazy, but that was still a physical game. Like, they were not backing down. Those boys were physical. I remember it was one time me and Hendrick were looking at each other from across the sideline. Like they were coming out there trying to get theirs. They did not back down. Trust me, Tennessee, and they go fast.
Yeah.
If you don't prepare for the speed, you're gonna cower down to it. Because once you become tired, your mind just goes to a different place. You forget everything. You forget your technique. You forget what you look at. You got to see a little to see a lot. You see a lot, you see nothing. So if you lose all that focus in football, man, those milliseconds that you're missing, it can be you being on your ass and you being standing up. You know?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Tennessee puts a strain on people's mind. You gotta be focused playing Tennessee.
Let me ask you a question. And a lot of people are questioning Carter. He fell in the draft. Some people thought he was the best defensive lineman in this year's draft. Obviously, Anderson was there was a team, the Texans, that moved up in the third as a third pick to get him. But a lot of people thought Jalen Carter was the best defensive player in this year's class. And then obviously off the field stuff was going on. And people were making a big deal. I was one of them. I didn't know much about the story, but I know the talent that he is, and his pro day wasn't the greatest pro day. Tell us a little bit of what you know. He was your roommate. What type of player is he? Is he the dominant force that people believe he is? Is he the best defensive lineman to come out of Georgia over the last two draft classes?
He's the best defensive tackle I've ever seen play.
Really?
Yes. And the crazy part is Jalen didn't start playing D-line until his 11th grade year of high school. He played running back and tight end. He's the best D-line I've ever seen play. He's one of the hardest working D-line I've ever seen. Like, Jalen, you know how they say Michael Jordan had that switch?
Yes.
He had that switch. Like, it was times where you would not want to be in front of him. Like, I've seen him pick guys up off the ground and throw them. I've seen him lift off his lineman off the ground and throw them. Yes, the Eagles, they did the right thing. They put him around his brothers. They did the right thing.
I think Jalen Carter actually broke one of the like those things you practice on, the metal things, the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman practice on, those metal things. I think he actually broke one of those at OTAs.
He probably did.
I know Clowney did.
Yeah.
I know Javier Clowney did.
He did, and then Tremel broke it one time. Tremel Watha, he broke one before. Yeah, but JC is nice, bro. That other stuff is they don't have to worry about that, bro. He's good, bro. He knows how to work hard. He knows like what it's the NFL, bro. This is our way out. This is the way you get paid to play football. You get paid to do what you love. You think if you get paid all that money, they're gonna change. It's gonna work. I know he's gonna work. I feel like he's gonna be one of the best D tackles in the league this year because I've seen what he can do, and when he clicks into that mode, you can't stop him.
All right, so I want to ask about, speaking of NFL defensive tackles, is there any NFL defensive tackle playing now that you model your game on?
Nah, I try to be you know how they say, a jack of all traits and a master of none? I try to fill my bag with everything because you got to be versatile in the league because it's about longevity. I want to be able to play every position across the board. I want to be able to go out on defensive end and play if a team's running 12 personnel and stand in front of a tight end and stand him up while they're trying to run the ball. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to go to a 3 technique and play good technique from a 3 technique, stick on blocks and be able to share. I want to be able to go over the top of a center and be able to play react to tackle the nose and be able to play lag. Like Coach Scott has developed us into he makes us not one-dimensional. Like, everybody in our D-line room can play the whole D-line. Everyone. He develops depth within the players by making us all be able to learn how to do everything. And I'm fortunate to have him as a coach because now, like, when I get that step to be blessed and fortunate enough to go to that next level, whatever a team asks me to do, I can be able to do it. If they need me to go out and play in and rush off the edge, I can do it because I've done it in the game before. If they need me to go play nose, guess what? When I first came to Georgia, Coach Scott was like, I'm throwing you in the fire. I'm putting you at nose. So, I mean, I've been developed by the best. So, I mean, it's just being versatile. You can't model your game after. I'm not gonna say I'm modeled after one player. I look at everybody and try to emulate what they do.
He's Warren Brinson, okay?
Don't even put it like that. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. But I try my hardest to emulate what the best do.
Listen, man, if I tell you you're perfect, okay? All right. I say you're perfect. You're better than Jalen Carter, okay? I'm gonna give you that. I'm just kidding, okay? I see you making faces. I don't want to throw you under the bus. People are gonna be like, Errol, do you know who you're talking to? I mean, seriously.
That's my dog. It's no competition between us.
We are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Warren, one of our fans over here, Jeff, who had you guys for the last 2 years winning the national championship. He takes credit for you guys winning the championship, by the way.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you, Jeff.
He asks you, who is the starting quarterback this year? Is it Beck, Vandegrift, or Gunner?
The starting quarterback is, y'all seen the spring game? Who took QB1 that spring game? So just utilize the spring game, and as long as all the quarterbacks work and do their thing, whoever comes out on top comes out on top. I think Carson is, but
who do you think?
It's up to, I can't say who I want.
You think it's Gunner? You think it's Gunner?
It's up to whoever the coaches think is the best quarterback. But I like Carson. CB15 was my roommate when I first moved in when I early enrolled. So that's my dog. I love CB behind the helm. He can sling it. And I watched him work. I remember after the first national championship, he looked at me and we were out and he said, Warren, I want my own. And after that moment, I seen the flip and the switch in him, and he's been working. Yeah. Carson's not a last in.
Did we lose him over there? I think we lost him there.
Oh, y'all hear me?
Oh, there he is. There he is. So he's ringing you.
My bad.
That's all right, man. Don't worry about it.
Don't
worry about it.
Yeah, CV, after that moment, he flipped the switch and he's working, bro. So whoever our coaches decide, I think CB15, but whoever our coaches decide, that's up to them. I'm just playing defense, I play the line.
I got you.
I like all my quarterbacks, though. All them guys are amazing players.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. I know you're not going to throw anybody on the bus. I know that you're a team player. As we know, you're not a master of everything, but you like to do everything. So I listen, I believe in unity, and I think you're a unity player. I think you're a leader. Who knows? Maybe you become a captain this year as a senior. So you know what it takes to win. You've won 2 national championships. So and you could be one of very few that's won 3 in a row. So
who has done it? It's probably like Harvard, like 1680 something, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was not many in the modern era.
Not many. So
hey, I'm about to say, I mean, that'll be crazy. That's like immortality.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of Bulldog fans out there, as we call the Philadelphia Eagles now, the Philadelphia Bulldogs. So you might be the next Bulldog to go to the Bulldogs. So
you're better start training for the Eagles now. They might draft you.
Bro, if I go there, I'll be so happy. That'll make the NFL so much fun.
Well, listen, if you keep up doing what you're doing and winning and going out there this year and putting up the numbers, and I think you could. I mean, I was reading some things about you, and first of all, I think you were a 3-star recruit, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure you were a 4-star recruit. You were a 4-star. Okay, so you were a 4-star recruit. So that's a high praise in what you were in high school and what you're going to transition. And look, Jalen Carter really didn't stand out until this year because he got a chance to, because all those other good defensive players were playing in front of him. Now you have a chance to shine. You're Warren Brinson. Now you can make a name for yourself. You can make a statement for yourself, and you could put up the numbers. You had a sack in the national championship game, so you know what it takes to win. You know what it takes to get after the quarterback. So why couldn't you be another Jalen Carter?
Appreciate you. That's the goal. We got to have somebody to
confidence, man. Go out there and you put up the numbers to shut people up, because I know a lot of people are after your championship. A lot of people are saying, all right, they're done. But your schedule falls perfectly for you to go to another national championship game. I mean, everything that we've seen, and I'm looking at your schedule, all the different experts that we've had on the show have all told us that your schedule falls in that you can make another national championship run. So why couldn't you do it? Like you said, with all the recruits that you have in, some of the veteran players coming back this year, and you have Smart there. And as we know, he's very smart. So why can't you do it again?
That's the goal. We just got to work hard and we're going to get there. Trust us. That's on our mind. Trust us.
Of course.
But the first thing first, we gotta win the East. That's our first goal. Win the SC East. That puts us in the SC Championship. We make it to the SC Championship, and you win that. You get it. You make it to the SC Championship. One of those teams are going to the playoffs. We win that SC Championship. We make it to the playoffs. And then boom. But first goal first, win the East. Dominate everybody on the East.
You want to spank them. You want to spank them like you want to spank them like the children get spanked when they do something wrong, right?
You just make them never want to play you again.
You want to punch them in the throat. That's what you want.
So I want to ask, in your time at Georgia, a funny teammate story that you have in any of your 3 years so far.
A funny teammate story. Lord, you put me on the spot, man. I gotta think. Oh, what's a funny teammate story, man? Oh, Nazir Stackhouse, he was one of my roommates, man. So Nazir Stackhouse has narcolepsy. A lot of people don't know that. So he used to fall asleep a lot. We were like, oh my God, Nas, why do you fall asleep so much, bro? Stop falling asleep. Like he's on like a 4-year kill streak of falling asleep every day. Like, he does it. It's fast too. You driving, you get in the car, you hit the car, he's out. He's out. So me and JC, we didn't know he was a narcoleptic. So we walked in. We was coming from somewhere. I don't know. He was coming this freshman year. But we walk into the room, and we hear before we even hit the corner, we hear the music playing. Like, we hear the music from the door. We hit the corner. The music is not on the speaker. It's from Nas' headphones. They're on Nas's ears, and Nas is asleep on the couch. That's when we knew it was a problem. And then probably like a week later, I'm just chilling in my room, playing the games, probably like 8 o'clock. A little nice afternoon. I'm probably about to get dressed to go out somewhere. I walk out my room, I look, I see Nas asleep in the chair. I'm like, damn, I look again, it's a remote in his hand, like he playing the game. I walk in, it's Madden on the TV, and he on kickoff. in the chair with a remote in his hand. I said, wow, this is real. Narcolepsy is real.
Wow. Could you imagine him play football and just fall asleep playing football and just doze off? What movie was that from? Narcolepsy. I forget what movie it was. You see the guy, it was a comedy. He was running with the ball and all of a sudden he fell asleep. He just dived down and fell asleep. I don't remember what movie that was, but it was a comedy movie. As everybody knows, we are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Warren, I heard you're a UFC fan. You like to play the video game. I work with mixed martial artists. I used to fight. I used to compete. I know a bunch of guys, Kenny Florian being one of them. Clay. Whatever. I'm a little out there today, but I've worked with a lot of MMA fighters. So I've had my thoughts with Conor McGregor. I actually have had my fights all over social media with Conor McGregor. Me and him do not like each other. And by the way, it was Clay Guida. I'm sorry, but. So before we get into what your knowledge in the mixed martial arts world, who is your favorite mixed martial artist and why?
John Jones. That was just like my era growing up. I just watched John Jones, and he's the greatest fighter of all time in my opinion.
Well, I will tell you.
I don't even have to explain why. I know you know John Jones.
I actually know. I met John Jones. The first time I met John Jones, he just came into the UFC. He was 2-0, and I met him.
That was after 8 months of training.
Yes, and I met him upstate at a casino. He was at an event that I was actually my buddy was fighting in, and he was there. He was a spokesman for the UFC and everything like that. And I saw him at the casino. So I was talking to a bunch of people. I said, John Jones is here, blah, 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 blah. He says, yeah, he's upstairs. He's on the second floor. I go upstairs to the second floor, and they're the kids, the guys that are, fighters and the amateur fighters, they wanted to see how long he was. So he bet people. He said, I'll put $50 in a cup on top of your head. If I could kick it off you put $50 on the top of your head. If I could kick it off your head without touching your head, I get to keep the $50. Do you know that 7 or 8 kids put $50 in a cup and he kicked all of them off their head? And I'm telling you, everybody tells you how long he is. You're talking about almost 7-8 feet okay, and he was kicking it at will off their heads. He made himself what was that, like $400, $500 doing nothing, like doing back kicks, front kicks, you name it. He was kicking off that. I wouldn't do it because I would be afraid he'd miss and kick me in the head, so I wouldn't do it. So, but these kids didn't believe it, and that was the first time I met John Jones. He became the superstar that he became, and honestly, that fight, I honestly believe the fight was paid off. That's just my opinion. I don't think he put the guillotine. I don't think he sunk the guillotine like everybody thinks he did.
That guillotine he put on Cyril Gahn?
Yeah, he didn't really.
Did you see the? All right, look at the guillotine he put on Lyoto Machida. It didn't look like it was in, but it put Lyoto to sleep.
He put it when he had Lyoto Machida. He had it locked, and he had it under his neck.
You can't say it's pain. You got to think of the force people apply. I've seen Khabib choke people out, not even under the neck, just by the chin. Cyril could have tapped from the pressure being applied to his chin.
No question.
I was from the palm.
No question. And I know a lot of people are, they question my thoughts to it. But if you really watch, and there's many ways to lock your hands on a guillotine. If you watch the lock of the guillotine, he grabbed his thumb and put his hand under his neck and locked it with his thumb. You're talking about a guy that is a very strong heavyweight and has never been choked out before in his career. So to do something like that, and he didn't, and I honestly, I didn't see that much weight pressed on his neck when he did it. So, okay. So that's your opinion. My opinion is different. So everybody's got their own opinion. As everybody knows, we are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle, Warren Brinson. Okay.
I feel like Cyril, he probably went after John took him to the ground. Cyril probably felt that strength. Like how you see fighters feel that strength in PBA. Cyril probably felt that strength. He doesn't really go to the ground. I think in the Ngannou fight, didn't Ngannou try to take him down? And
yes.
On the ground for almost half a round, and he got up his gas. He's like that wrestling and boxing. I feel like it's two different things.
Oh, 100%. And I trained. I have a black belt in judo. I have a black belt in kempo.
Oh my God, that's fire!
Yeah, and
you can really whoop someone's ass.
I was a pretty good fighter. I was a boxer too. I boxed. I was an amateur fighter when I graduated from high school. I hurt my knee. I didn't really play hockey anymore. I wanted to get into a sport that I wanted to compete. I was always fast, and I started to box, and I started training, and then I started amateur fighting. I fought in the Everlast games and all the different things, and I just didn't want to get my head pulverized. So
exactly,
my friend
I feel like you got to have a strong sense of pride to do that.
Yes, and I was introduced to mixed martial arts, and I said, why would I want to lay on top of another guy and try to tap somebody else? And I thought it was funny. I knew how to judo throw people and stuff like that because I trained. I did. I was almost 11 and a half years of judo when I was a kid, and kempo. My parents wanted me to protect myself because I went to school in Brooklyn. So I learned a lot about, tossing people and controlling people. And I wrestled a couple of years in high school. So I had the opportunity. So what got you in? What made you fall in love with the mixed martial arts world? Is there a particular, besides John Jones, but was there a particular fighter that you saw before John Jones that really pressed you to say, you know what, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. I love this sport.
I never really got into it until I came to college and started taking like Muay Thai classes and stuff. Mm-hmm. Taking classes are very expensive.
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
So very expensive. I got to college, I started taking like Muay Thai and like jiu-jitsu classes. Like every once in a while, probably like in the month of May I'll do it. But what got me into it, I really don't know. Probably just as a kid, like the violence of UFC, honestly, like it's a violent sport. I mean, those guys were, I just looked at them and those guys are like a superhero figure in my head. Those are some tough and effort. Can you curse on here?
You could. We're not gonna hold back on that.
Oh yeah, those are tough fuckers on those guys. Like you got to think Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silva in his prime was crazy. Like I got the witness prime Anderson Silva. Like he was crazy, like a different level. And then guys like Lyoto Machida, Lyoto was crazy work. Dragon was crazy, and then even like the old timers, like guys like Uriah Faber, he had like a charisma to him. Like some of those guys would sell their story good enough to make you actually enjoy watching the fight. And the funny story is, Forrest Griffin started off as a Athens UGA police cop.
Police officer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's it. I did not know that until I went golfing a couple weeks ago, and the guys told me that. I mean, it's just
him and may rest in peace, Stephen Bonner. Was another guy. Stephen Bonner used to work as a register man at a food supermarket.
Dang, like all those guys have crazy stories.
All of them
Like
do.
GSP story is crazy.
Conor McGregor was an assistant plumber, okay? And he was on welfare. He talks about it all the time. And in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, he became a multimillionaire. And 4 years, 5 years after that, he became a $100 millionaire. And then he started his own liquor distribution.
That whiskey went crazy.
Yeah, he just sold it for $450 million.
Conor did it the right way. He was smart.
I don't know. I have my differences with Conor McGregor. I mean, I'm serious. And by the way, again, we are talking to Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Me and Conor McGregor on social media when he won when he fought Nate Diaz, his first fight against Nate Diaz, and the bottles were thrown at the press conference. I was actually at that press conference, and Conor was saying stuff, and he was walking out, and one of his peers said something to me because I had a smart mouth, and he told me, "You got a problem with it? I'll this and that." Yapped his big Irish mouth at me, and I said, "You're on my turf," and stuff like that. He's like, "Why don't you fly to Ireland? I'll kick the hell out of you over there," and blah 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 blah. This is a small little piece of garbage. So I did a rate. I still, I'm bringing back my mixed martial arts show. And he actually went on social media while my show was going on and started talking down to me, threatening me, telling me, "I'll put $40K. You come fly over here." He says, "I'll bury you 6 feet under. Nobody, your mother will never note it and never find you again." They actually took my picture. Okay, Warren, they took my picture and put it on, I think, multiple bar dartboards in Ireland and started going. They took pictures. I swear to Christ. They took pictures of it and sent it to me on social media. And Conor McGregor, I'll send you the text messages. Conor McGregor throughout his Twitter feed, was talking to one of his managers about me and attacked me on social media on Twitter. Completely attacked me. And I told him, I said, "I'm not afraid of you. You're 5'0" and you weigh 155 pounds to me that I weigh about 220. I will smash you." And he was talking crap. And I respect what he has done in the mixed martial art world and what he has done as a professional fighter. I don't respect how he talks down to people and treats people like garbage, especially people he has no idea he's talking to. Okay. So
the money probably changed him.
Money changes a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't see money changing you, my friend. I like the purple lights. I think that's your style. I know you like to party. So my question to you.
What made you think I like the party?
I could just tell. I could just tell.
Man, I toned it down. Maybe freshman and sophomore.
No, I'm not talking about drinking or any of that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I think you like to have fun. I mean, just so you know, Warren, I don't drink. I don't drink anything. I drink once a year on my birthday. I get wasted, okay? And people love it because I do stupid things. I'll dance on bars. I'll strip. I'll do whatever. I have no problem doing anything when I'm drunk. So I stay away from that stuff because it poisons my mind, okay? So I stay away from that stuff. But I know how to have fun, and whenever I go out, I'm a DJ. I'm out and about. I've been all over the world DJing. I've been all over the place doing the things I do. So I enjoy what I do, and I still DJ. I still go out there. But before we let you go, man, because you look like a down-to-earth guy, have you ever been to the island? Have you ever been to Long Island?
I've never been to Long Island. I was actually supposed to go to New York one weekend ago. I was supposed to be in New York, but my mom canceled it. Last weekend I was supposed to be in New York, but my mom canceled the trip because we couldn't find any place. She didn't want to stay in the Airbnb because I feel like New York, unsafe. You can't even fly with a gun there. So like, I know if I go to New York, if I don't have a gun, I know somebody else is gonna have a gun.
No.
New York is bad. I'm with my family.
Listen. It depends on where you go. New York is not as bad as you think it is. There are certain parts I would not, go. But here on Long Island, we're in the island part. It is beautiful over here. Nobody's carrying. Nobody really.
I got some friends from Long Island that I went to IMG with, the Anthony's.
Okay.
Scordios.
Well, we've had a lot of guests, and we've had guys that were on the Knights that went to the FDU Knights that obviously knocked out Purdue in the first round, and they're going to come out here this summer, and I'm going to take them out to a winery, And you're more than welcome to come out. I would love to show you around Long Island. It's a different place. It's a different way of living. If you can get out here, you can stay out here. You can stay out here in a hotel, motel. You can stay out here with me. I have a big place, and I'll take you out to the wineries out here. You guys don't understand, but it's not. New York is not the city. Everybody thinks, oh, it's the city, bright lights, and It's not like that. There's a lot of stuff. We live right by it. There's a place called Fire Island. You can go over there. There's clubs, bars. It's great. It's a different place. It's a different a view of what New York is. If you want to come out here, man, you're more than welcome. I'm going to take the FDU guys out, a couple of the FDU guys out. You could come out maybe with one of your two buddies or whatever, and I'll show you what New York is about. It's not what you think it is.
I'm going to hold you to that. When did the FDU guys come out? It's like a weekend?
A weekend.
We're going to plan it sometime in the summer.
Summertime. I would say August, because the August time, there's a lot to do in August, and you'll have what? You're too busy?
Fall camp.
All right, July. Are you around July?
Oh, July is perfect.
All right. So
any weekend, we
weekend
can narrow down a weekend in July. I can book
All right, I'll tell you what. Well, I'm going to figure out the best weekend in July. I already told the FDU guys. Speedy is my producer. He's going to reach out to the FDU guys. I'm going to pick a weekend where I could take you guys out, and you guys come out. You bring out one or two of you guys, and I'm going to take you guys out for a good time. Actually, me and Speedy have a bet with Brandon Jacobs, who's right now out in Georgia with his son, who's a 5-star recruit, off at Braden, who's going to be. I don't know where he's going, but there's a couple of places that are viewed to where he's going to go. We have a bet that if the Jets have a better record than the Giants, that he has to take me and Speedy out with his son to a dinner and the Jets and Giants game. And if the Giants have a better record than the Jets at that time, he's got to take me and Speedy and his son out to dinner and out to the Jets and Giants game. So it's back and forth. He's a Giant guy. So it's funny. He says he's going to fly out from Georgia to do that. So we have a bet.
I think I seen Brandon Jacobs come to a practice last year with his son. That guy's huge.
Yes, his son's even bigger than he is.
Well, maybe he'll be your teammate soon.
I mean, we love running backs here, so if you're watching this, man, come to the G.
Well,
come to that. Brady, they're gonna take care of your body.
Braden is an offensive lineman.
Oh, whoa!
6'6", 370 pounds, and he's 15 years old.
Hey, bro, just keep working hard. You already got the size, man. Just work hard, bro. Get your body right. Get your feet right. Get some quick feet. Quick feet. Do not eat. Be light on your toes. And you're going to make it somewhere. You already got the size. Now put the work in.
I think what did Brandon say? Brandon told us his son runs a 40 in like 4.8, 4.7. And he's
4.8.
It's those Jacobs genetics. You see his dad. So, I mean, it's just, you know how genetics is. It's like Polynesians. All those guys are built like linebackers, fast as hell.
All the warrior culture.
The most athletic people I've ever met are Polynesians. Like, Noah Sewell is so athletic. My friend Ma'a, those guys are crazy. I played against a group of Polynesians up at Liberty in Vegas at IMG my junior year. When I say that, their offensive lineman hit me with a combo that was out of this world.
Really?
Yes, and Evan Neal was one of my offensive tackles. Yep. And I used to go against him in practice. But those guys from Vegas, we beat them, but they were crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speedy's going to keep in touch with you. I'm going to take, if you want to
come to New York.
Absolutely, come up to New York. It's on me. If you want to stay in a hotel, that's on you. If you want to stay over, you want to, you can crash over here.
I want some good. I might stay with you. I need some good home cooking. Are you Italian?
I'm Italian. Yes, I am.
Man, can you whip up some Italian food? Like some
My girl can.
Authentic.
There you go. Authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I used to watch a lot of Jersey Shore, and I used to see.
Stop. You know what, dude? I hate it. I went out to Fire Island for my friend's birthday, and there were 7 people that came up to me when I was wearing my glasses, asking me if I was Ronnie from Jersey Shore. Okay? And 2 girls wanted to take pictures with me, and I said, "What are you nuts?"
Wait, I'm sorry. Let me get close.
I go, dude. I have a lot of hair over here. Let me show you. I have a lot of hair, so I have a
Oh,
lot of hair and I spike it. Yeah, dude. I have a lot of hair.
What do they
So,
call him? Is it
and I
Guido?
wear glasses, dude. And I'm a pretty big. I'm 200. I'm 230
You're
pounds.
222, so I mean, you got some beef. You're You're big.
I'm 5'10", 230. So.
Oh yeah, so you're a buff little shotgun shell.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big. I'm a big guy. But I work out. I take care of myself. You know what I mean? I've always.
But I
been
can
a gym
definitely
guy.
see the Ronnie. I'm 1,000%. After the hair.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, I hate it. Dude, I hate it. And I've opened up for Paulie D. I can't stand the guy. I've been around. I hate the Jersey Show. I don't sit and watch that stupid show. But it's a degrading attack to Italians, and they're not even Italian, half of them. I think Vinny's the only Italian guy from that show. So they're not even Italian. They're really not. Ronnie's Puerto Rican. Paulie D is like, I forget what he is. He's like something else. None of those guys. Snooki's not Italian. None of those guys are.
He's not Italian?
No.
What?
No. Snooki's not Italian. No. It's a mockery of what Italian should be. Mike the Situation's Italian, and Vinny's Italian. Practically all of them. And I think Jenny is Italian too. All the other ones, they're not even full Italian on anything. So
man, they're frauds.
they're frauds, man. Frauds. Let's toss them out, man. But
I would love to come to New York.
Awesome.
Crazy Italian food, man.
All right, so that's what we'll do. I'll have Speedy work with you. You can bring one or two of your boys out, and you come out and hang out, man. And you come out for a weekend. I'll trust me. I'm not going to get you drunk or any of that. I'll take you to a couple of wineries. Maybe I'll take you to Fire Island one day. You'll enjoy it. It's something that you never experienced before, and you'll always remember. And then when you become, hey, maybe you get drafted by the Jets or the Giants, and then you can come out here more than you think.
You get drafted by the Giants, and then Braden Jacobs could be your teammate 3 years later.
Braden Jacobs. Not Brendan. Braden. But
Brandon might have another role for him too. We'll see.
That's true. But he's going to be taking us to a nice football game and dinner. So after the Jets have a better record than the Giants, but we really appreciate you, man. Keep up the good work. Speedy will be in touch with you. We'll pick it in July. I'm going to pick a weekend because I DJ a lot on the weekends, so I'll make sure that one weekend I'm available, and we'll get this thing going, man. I would love for you guys to come out here and enjoy the understanding of what you think New York is, but it isn't. So
is there a lot of like fist pumping?
No, it's not like that. Fist pumping. You know what is so funny? I was at another thing. Some Italian kid came up to me there, and he's like, "Oh," he said some kind of like Italian thing to me, and he's like, "You're a Goomba." I was like, "What the hell's a Goomba?" I said, "Are you Italian?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm Italian, but I'm not a Goomba. What the hell's a Goomba?" I was like, "Why don't you Goomba away from me? How's that?" And he's like, "Let's fist pump." I was like, if you fist pump, I'm going to take your fist and shove it up your ass. You know what I mean? I was like, "No, do not fist pump in front of me." So, anyways, but we really appreciate you, bud. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you very, very soon. I'm serious. You're more than welcome to come out here. We'll show you what Long Island's all about, my friend.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Warren Brinson, 2-time national champion. Might be 3-time. They have a chance. 3-time. Oh, I'm loving it. Defensive tackle Warren Brinson. Fantastic kid.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very nice kid. And you know what's great is that these guys, they're normal guys. And we were on the phone. We were on the call with him for almost an hour. And he was really, really cool, down to earth. And that's what I love about our interviews. It's not like we're sitting there and we're just interviewing and asking stupid questions. We ask questions. We have fun with them. Thank Warren. He was fantastic. Thank you to Jason DiRienzo. He was fantastic as well. I always mess up Jason's name. It's such a long
The funny
name.
thing is, I actually watched the beginning of the last time we had him on. You actually nailed it that time.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
It was funny because, like I said, it was like a year and a half ago that
he never pronounces my name right. Earl, or what is it? Errol? It's Errol. Errol. That's my name.
It was funny.
Errol.
Because the last time we had him on was at the end of 2021. So it was right around the holidays, and Tyler was still on the show, and he had to leave to go to the bathroom at some random time. We were cracking up about that in the beginning.
Well, he came here drunk. I mean, what kind of person comes here drunk to talk on a radio show for 3 hours? And then in that show, he was saying some derogatory, crazy, stupid things. So I love Tyler. He's a little out of his mind. But let's get back to the show. Noah Syndergaard told MLB.com after his most recent bad start against the Nationals that he would give up, yes, his hypothetical firstborn to be his old self again. Syndergaard has a 6.54 ERA, 1.39 whip, and just has 35 strikeouts in 52 innings pitched for the Dodgers this season. Syndergaard pitches have dipped anywhere from 2 to 4 miles per hour since he returned from Tommy John surgery in 2021. The Dodgers already have two season-ending injuries with Walker Buehler and Dustin May, and also Julio Urias is hurt right now too. Syndergaard, along with Steven Matz, took shots at the Mets organization on their way out, and there is belief that the way they handled Jacob deGrom's injury issues resulted in him leaving as well. So, first of all, let's get down to the nitty and the gritty of this, okay? Hypothetically saying that he would completely give up his son his firstborn, if he could pitch the way he did when he started, is a ridiculous statement, okay? He doesn't have a kid. And if he did have a kid, he would never say that because his wife would probably divorce him. Okay, that is one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard a professional athlete say. Okay, he will never be the same. Okay, Noah Syndergaard will never be the same. The Mets misused him when he was younger. Okay, when you're throwing sliders at 93, 94 miles per hour, off-speed pitches, change-ups at like 87, 86, and you have guys like Jacob deGrom throwing 100 miles per hour in the later innings, you're not handling your pitchers right. Since then, Jacob deGrom has had elbow and shoulder problems, okay, arm problems. Syndergaard's had arm problems. Steven Matz has had Tommy Johns and has had arm problems. Should we go on?
Every pitcher this year has been hurt at some point besides Senga.
They have had problems keeping their pitchers healthy. And one of the reasons why is when your dominant young pitchers can throw as hard as they can, you don't step in and say, listen, we want to keep you for a long time. We want to keep you safe for a long time. We want you to pitch for the next 10 to 15 years on this team. We want you to slow the ball down. We want you to learn about control. They didn't do that with Jacob deGrom, and maybe that's why Jacob deGrom left, because they pushed Jacob deGrom. They pushed Noah Syndergaard. They pitched and pushed the Dark Knight. I call him the Dark Knight because he's really, really dark at night, okay?
Yeah, he disappeared into the night after about 4 years.
Yeah. So they've had a tremendous amount of young talent, and it never worked out. It never worked out.
And again, Syndergaard was the one I think that had the best stuff on paper when he was a prospect.
I thought Wheeler did.
You thought Wheeler did?
Yes,
Okay.
and I have always said that. Me and Mikey C, we used to argue. He had Jacob deGrom. I had Zach Wheeler. And honestly, if you look at all the pitchers, Zach Wheeler is the best pitcher out of all of them. If you look at
for sure. Yeah.
Right now, I mean, Jacob deGrom is still pitching very well. I know he's not been healthy with Texas, but hey, guess what? The Texas Rangers are in first place in their division.
And their starting pitch has actually been really good this year.
And Jacob deGrom is 2-0. He has, I think, the lowest whip in the majors right now with a 0.76 whip.
And a small sample,
but it doesn't matter.
Right.
His whip is low. That's low.
No, he's pitched well. Besides his first start, he's pitched very well.
And his ERA is what, 2.64 or something like that?
He pitched really well since that rocky first start, and then he had like one bad inning in his second start, but then he settled in after that. I think he allowed 3 runs in the first and then settled in after that, and he was pitching great since then until he got hurt. But going back to the Mets, though, like the hype at the time was Harvey for a while in 2010, especially since the Mets had all those veteran pitchers that just retired. They had Pedro Martinez, they had Tom Glavine, so he was the young pitcher that was the big deal. deGrom was actually not the big prospect at the time. It was actually Rafael Montero, and Rafael Montero had that hype, and he turned out to be a bust. Now he's a good relief pitcher with Seattle and Houston. But Syndergaard was the one that seemed like had the best stuff, and when he came up, he had 90-mile-an-hour pitches that normally are off-speed pitches for other pitchers. But that kind of thing didn't last once he had all those injuries, and you lose velocity, like you said. So his sinker, I think, was the biggest one. 2 or 4 miles an hour. I think he lost 4 on that one, and that's a big deal.
Notice the two pitchers that everybody gave a nickname, the Dark Knight. No longer really. I think he is playing in baseball, but he's been
No,
all
I
over
think he
the
just
place.
retired this year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So he's retired, who everybody thought was going to be the best out of all of them. And then Noah Syndergaard, who everybody thought was the second best out of all of them. The Thor, or whatever the hell, the Hammer.
Yep.
He's right now, he has an ERA at 6.54. His whip's not that bad, 1.39, but that's nothing to brag about either. I mean, and 35 strikeouts in 52 innings when the Dodgers need him. I mean, Noah Syndergaard could be on his way out too. I don't think he's been. How many teams has he been on since he's left the Mets?
Yeah,
3?
he was with the Angels, then the Phillies, then the Dodgers.
I mean, 3 teams. So since he's left the Mets, so it's kind of, it comes back to you, and you look at the Mets and the organization. Everybody wants to blame the Wilpons. I disagree. It's not the Wilpons' fault that this is going. It was management. It's coaching. It's just everything. And it just hasn't worked out for the Mets. When you look, if we go back 7-8 years and we look at that rotation for the Mets, some people say it was one of the best young rotations of all time.
Yep, rotation of the future in baseball.
And
2014.
and that rotation never, ever, ever, ever really hit that high millennium top of the line pitching that we believe they were going to be.
Right. All 3-year peaks for Harvey and Syndergaard in the beginning, and then both of them had their injury issues. Syndergaard still pitched well after the first couple of injuries, but after the Tommy John surgery, you really could tell that his stuff wasn't going to age well because he relied so much on that velocity, the hard sinker especially too, and even that harder changeup. He was throwing changeups at the beginning of his career at like 92 mile an hour sometimes, and he could change speeds. And once that was gone, like it really is lost. Now we've seen pitchers evolve, maybe like we were talking about with CeCe Sabathia a lot. Like he was a hard thrower at the beginning of his career, and then when he got later in his career with a lot of injury issues, he had to throw softer. He had to turn into more of a finesse pitcher. Maybe Syndergaard does that, but it doesn't seem like he's changing his skills as much and his approach. Now it's kind of different with DeGrom. DeGrom, like you were saying, the Mets kind of forced him to throw that 100 mile an hour, and he kind of did it a little too much. I think it wasn't necessarily that he did it. That he did it like 20 times a game sometimes, and you just can't do it at that rate and expect to stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because the Mets could have had some of the greatest young pitchers of this era, and like I said, when we talk about the roster and what it was at one point, and they went to the World Series. What was it, 2016? And they did lose. They lost against Kansas City. They played a great defensive team that had great pitching and
base running too. No Mets pitcher could hold on a base runner to save their life.
I just think it was bad managing, and that really cost them possibly getting back into that series and maybe winning. So, and that was the highest point the Mets were ever at. Yep. It really was. Syndergaard pitched well. DeGrom pitched well. The Dark Knight pitched well. To me, that whole pitching staff pitched well throughout the playoffs, and everybody was like, "Oh, we're going to see a lot of this for many, many years to come." And just like the Mets in '86, if you guys remember, when we talk about that roster, and everybody says they're going to win multiple championships, they only won one.
They only won one division title, I think, after that with that core. So yeah, the Mets have a history of not being able to keep their pitching, even though that's all
not
they
even
can
pitching,
develop.
their team, their roster.
Yeah, but again, it's like they don't even develop great homegrown hitting as it is until just recently. Like finally, they're doing it a little more now. But like that was a big problem for them, like their whole franchise existence. But they've always been a great pitching team when it comes to even the '60s with Seaver and Kuzman, and like you said, the '80s, Doc Gooden and all those guys. And again, even now, that's always been their strength. But again, they just find ways to mismanage it. And I think Syndergaard is definitely the worst case of it because of him being relied upon on his stuff and his velocity so much. And you've seen the Dodgers. Look, the Dodgers have rebirthed so many guys that were bad on other teams too. Remember how many Yankee fans were complaining about Andrew Haney? He had a very good year last year with the Dodgers. Justin Turner, when he went to the Dodgers, became a whole different player. Max Muncy was a bench player with Oakland.
It's how you coach these guys.
Yeah, they have so many pitchers that just come out of nowhere and do well for them.
But they also have a great farm system.
They do.
The Dodgers have one of the best farm systems in baseball.
Absolutely. But they also have the great ability to rebirth all these veteran guys that failed with these other teams or were journeymen with other teams.
We've interviewed how many Dodger scouts?
Right.
We've interviewed like 2 or 3 of them. Yep. And they were professional baseball players. And every single one of their scouts says, no matter where the Dodgers are and how much talent they have on their roster right now, their farm system's even better. Mm-hmm. So and what is that?
I think they came in with the third highest this year too. Like even some with Lux and May and those guys that were up big prospects in the
every
past.
year they trade away top 10, top 15 prospects from their farm system, and they still have enough prospects and enough talent in their farm system to move forward and rebuild this team if they decide to move away from these veteran players that they have on their roster right now.
Right, because they're always going to be in the market for big trades too and big signings, and obviously now with Shohei Ohtani, they're favorites to get him now too. But like even so, like
that's because he wants to stay out west. If he wants to come here to the East Coast, the Mets are probably going to get him. So.
But even so, like the Dodgers always have an idea. They always have a backup plan that's very good, whether it comes from a veteran, whether it comes from the international market. We've seen them get with Kenta Maeda. We've seen that with Hideo Nomo in the past, going after these Japanese pitchers, Korean pitchers, stuff like that. They always have a good backup plan because of that. Now, a lot of it is the money too, but still, they always have a good process of it too. Now, they don't always win a World Series because it's hard to do in baseball. There's a lot of uncontrollable aspects, but
which everybody thinks that the Yankees bought their way to the World Series, which they built around a core. When the Yankees were good, they built around a core. And the same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are never going to win as much as they want to with the roster that they have. Is no matter how much talent they have in their farm system, they seem to bring in veteran players and they overpay them. Mookie Betts, fantastic player, really is, and still fairly young, still could play in this game for another 4 or 5 years at the top of his game. He's one of the best all-around players in the league. Problem with him is you're paying him $350 million. And to me, when you look at that half that roster, they're all players, all stars from other teams, other organizations. And that is not the way to win. The Yankees could never win. They won one championship in 2009. Out of all those championships that they won with Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada and Mariano Rivera, they won it by they bought 3 players to help them win in 2009. If you look at the championships that they won, they brought in veteran players that they built around a core. Okay. Paul O'Neill was a player that came from the Cincinnati Reds that won a World Series in the 1990s. And then they brought him in, and he was one of the savants, the guys that they believe were going to be one of the leaders that was going to help these other young players develop. And then also, when you look at Tino Martinez, another guy that came from Seattle, power hitter, a guy that they had, Wade Boggs, and Charlie Hayes was a guy who came back and forth. Scott Brocious, another guy that came from the Oakland A's. They brought guys in from around of the core players that they had. And it was really, everybody keeps talking about the Yankees with the 4. There were 5 of them. Bernie Williams was always picked out of it because he was there before all of them. The other 4 guys came up together. So it was 5 youngsters that the Yankees built their team around, and that's how they won. And that's the dynasty. And that's what was amazing about the Yankees dynasty, was the fact that they built around a core and they were dominant. And how many teams could you say in professional baseball won 4 championships in 6 years? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy to do. The only team that came close to that is San Francisco. It really,
they're the only modern baseball dynasty really since the 50s besides the Yankees. Yeah.
So I think when you come back and you look at it, buying players don't help you win. It doesn't.
But again, the Dodgers, I think they've done better though in comparison to other years. Remember, think about the trades they made with the Red Sox and all those players they had left over with Crawford and Josh Beckett. They took on all those contracts and they were strapped with that.
I don't understand why they did that either.
They were strapped with that money forever, and they kept still trying to buy anyway. And they were so far over the luxury tax at that time because it wasn't as big then.
Well, they also changed ownership. Magic Johnson took over with his team of guys, and Magic Johnson, successful I think Magic Johnson's close to a billionaire too, for all the movie theaters, and he's an entrepreneur. He built an enterprise, and you have to give Magic Johnson a lot of credit for everything that he's done, not only as a basketball, savant or whatever they'll call it, but who he is as a player, who he was as a player, and what he has become as an owner, as a, just a straight up entrepreneur. So it's amazing. But when you look at baseball as a whole, these players are making a ton of money, and they just I think baseball's transitioned into a sport where obviously it's not even about the players anymore. It's about the deals, the commercial deals, the TV deals that they're getting, because the more money that they bring in, the more money these owners make, and the more money these owners make, the more money the players make, because it's all guaranteed money.
And unless you're one of those low market teams that don't spend at all, and that's where baseball still has the issue with the competitive balance. But we know the Dodgers definitely aren't one of those teams. Neither is Noah Syndergaard's former team, the New York Mets. And both of them have had their share of reckless spending at certain points. The Dodgers, like you said earlier, in Magic Johnson's tenure, and the Mets now with these senior citizens pitchers, as you like to call them, now all having $43 million contracts. And they're finally pitching a little better, thankfully. Scherzer had another nice start today against the Phillies. But besides that, not ideal.
Anyways, let's get into, before we get into our bracket wars, I wanted to get into this particular story and not story, but this particular monologue and argument about the AFC as a whole when it comes to the quarterback play. And it's amazing because when you go up and down all these rosters, all these teams in the AFC, from the AFC East to the North, to the South, to the West, okay? If you go through and you try to rate the quarterbacks in the AFC. And honestly, I'm not going to say that Tom Brady could be a rated, but hey, if we put Tom Brady over there, then it'd be absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. But the Bills have Josh Allen. The Dolphins have Tua. The Patriots have Macaroni. And the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. Just that division. Josh Allen, where you can argue he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. Aaron Rodgers, people can argue that he is a top 5 quarterback. Tua last year before he got hurt, some people said he was MVP candidate. Okay? Then you go to the AFC North. You have Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. We all know how good this kid is. The Ravens. Am I forgetting something over here?
Oh, the player and the agent.
Mm-hmm. The Steelers. They have a young quarterback that could be up and coming with George Pickens, who had a fantastic year as a rookie. We knew he was going to be great. We know where he came from. As we know, we've just interviewed one of his former teammates. The Browns, Deshaun Watson. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. The Titans. Now, when you look at the Titans and the Patriots and the Colts, those are the 3 teams. And I know Richardson, everybody thinks Richardson's going to start. And I don't think they better not start him. Because if you start him, you're putting pressure on him this is a kid that, played 5 games last year? Mm-hmm. 5 games last year. He really barely played. He's got a tremendous amount of talent. And we talked about the combine with Jason DiRienzo. We talked about the combine. Everybody thinks that, they produce in the combine and what they do at the combine. Oh my God, he was amazing. We've seen a lot of amazing things in the combine and it never transitioned into the NFL. And then there's the Texans who have CJ Stroud. So you look at the division. Trevor Lawrence is the only good quarterback in that division.
Yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence and 3 rookies.
Then you have the Chiefs. We all know who Patrick Mahomes is, arguably the best quarterback in the league. The Chargers, Justin Herbert. The Raiders, could be Tom Brady, or it's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo on 1 foot.
And then Russell Wilson. Look at those rosters. There might be 4 teams. 4 teams that you're going to question the quarterback play. 4. Out of all those teams.
And we don't know the rookies yet. The rookies could still be good, so we'll see. Tough situations, though.
4 out of 16 teams in the AFC. You're going to question the quarterback play. That's it.
Yeah.
And that just shows you how dominant the AFC could be this year. And that goes, and you argue, when you look at even the AFC East, and you argue who's the best quarterback in that AFC East. Some people, you can argue it's Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, or Tua. And that's a good question. And me and Jeff went back and forth on it. And that's the interesting question because we don't know what Aaron Rodgers the Jets are going to get this year. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy and the Jets could protect him, we could see an Aaron Rodgers that could throw between 36 and 40 touchdowns this year. The Jets have never had a quarterback. Never. In not even in NFL, in Jets history, New York Jets history, they have never had a quarterback that threw over 35 touchdowns.
And they only have had one 4,000-yard season. That was Joe Namath, I believe, in 1973. So at least they're better than the Bears in that department, who've never had any, but still, it's not good.
Josh Allen's thrown over 30 touchdowns twice in his career already. Mm-hmm. All right? Tua, I don't think ever threw through.
I don't think he's been healthy enough to do that.
But you're talking about just their division. And I don't bet against Bill Belichick. I know a lot of people say, Bill and the Patriots are going to be looking up. I don't know. I don't know if I could sit there and say, just because they have Mr. Macaroni throwing the ball this year again, you have O'Brien coming back, who's a great offensive coordinator. He actually knows what he's doing. You don't have a duel. I say duel because not duo, no duel, because they dueled their way out from that offensive coordinator job.
And Joe Judge also dueled with Mark Colombo when he was with the Giants.
Yes. I just think that the Patriots are a lot better than people think they're going to be.
Well, they'll still be competitive no matter how good their offense actually is. Because it's going to be a better offense than last year. We just don't know how good it's going to be compared to the rest of the league. But at least they're going to have competently run offensive coordinators for once and still have good tight end play, still have good running back play. We'll see on the wide receivers. That's still kind of a question mark for them. But if they can get some level of development like Jones's rookie year, then they could be a stable team with their defense still being strong.
I think when you look at all these teams and you try to, everybody wants to look at the quarterbacks and the quarterback is the most important position, as we all know, because the Jets haven't had a good quarterback in forever. Everybody says Broadway Joe. I disagree. I think Chad Pennington was a good quarterback. I think Vinny Testaverde, we've seen 1 year with Ryan Fitzpatrick, 1 year of Ryan Fitzpatrick. So it's not like the Jets have never had good quarterback play. We saw Brett Favre. He played very well at the quarterback position for at healthy for 11 games, 12 games before he got hurt, and he hurt his shoulder against the Patriots on that Thursday night football game. I mean, we saw good quarterback play for the Jets, but the Jets have never had consistency at that quarterback position. If the Jets have that this year, they could be a lot better than people think they could be this year.
And again, they also have had an issue with developing homegrown talent at wide receiver and not offensive line as much. They've had Ferguson and Mangold, guys like that, but just consistently homegrown offensive players where they had to overpay for other ones as a result. Braylon Edwards, Antonio Holmes, Brandon Marshall, etc. And running backs too. They've had a cycle of different good running backs, but still not good, great contracts either. And Le'Veon Bell, the most recent one, turned out to be a bomb.
Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, as we call him, the guy that just got paid, or the agent wannabe,
the trend-setting agent.
Yes, the Steelers. Listen. The Steelers are the only team in that division you're going to question the quarterback play, and I don't know how good their young quarterback is going to be. I don't, and it's not Mason Rudolph. Everybody thinks it's going to be Mason Rudolph this year. That they're still not ready to give the reins to. I'm sorry, Pickett. I'm sorry. So. I think when you look at the big picture over here in the AFC, there's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered before the season starts. Where are these teams at when it comes to their roster, where their weaknesses are at? Because a lot of these teams are not going to have that many weaknesses. The Bills, their offensive line is getting older, and they lost a couple of defensive players. I still think the Bills are an elite team. And if Josh Allen stays healthy, I think the weakness offensively is the running back position. I don't care what anybody says. They haven't run the ball very, very well, especially later in the season. In the playoffs, they had problems running the ball. And if they depend and they think that Josh Allen is going to be the leader rusher of the team this year again, it's not going to work. When they tried to do that against the Jets killed him. All right. So he needs to play smarter. As a quarterback, we all know how big he is. We all know how strong he is, but that is not going to sell in this division, especially in this division where the defense is so much depth. The Dolphins have a good defense with two really good corners, and Ramsey and Howard. The Jets, the Patriots are going to be an elite defense. They're going to be a top 8, top 5 defense with that defense. They're still going to be good. And then you have the Bengals and the Ravens, two good defensive teams. Now, the Bengals lost a couple of defensive pieces. They lost
both safeties. Yeah.
They lost their safeties, and that's going to hurt them in their secondary. But they still have a pretty good front seven. They have guys that can get at you. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be beastly this year. That defense is going to hold everything. It doesn't matter what Kenny Pickett is. It really doesn't. Because if they could keep the game low and they can run the ball, like we were talking about with Jason, then they're still going to be able to control the clock, and defense and running the ball control and doing those kind of things wins a lot of ball games. And last year they won 9 games and they made the playoffs.
And again, the two teams, the Steelers and the Patriots, that have these quote unquote quarterback questions have two of the best coaches in the league.
No question.
So that makes it tough even for those teams to be able to distance themselves away, because on paper the talent favors the other 3 teams in the AFC East and in the AFC North.
And Deshaun Watson, I think, could be the best quarterback in that that division.
If they could even rebirth to half of it, yeah.
If he could figure things out, he's been out of football for 2 years. He came back in week 11 or week 12 last year. You could tell he was missing something. If he has a good offseason, and they added some pieces. They added Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is going to definitely be a weapon that they can use in the slot or even move him to the outside. It didn't work with him with the Jets, but maybe in a different offense with a more, I think, competent offensive coordinator. And I'm not saying I think Nathaniel Hackett is competent. Obviously the Jets didn't want him on the team because he was a cancer. And I think him going to the Browns, it could rebirth him. He could turn out to be the player. I know what A.J. Brown said about him when the Jets drafted him in the second round. They said A.J. Brown said he was a better player than he was. And we haven't seen that as a Jet fan. I'm not me as a Jet fan. So I'm interested to see what they do with Deshaun Watson and the way they use him. And they still have Cooper there. They still have a good running game. They have one of the more elusive, one of the more top power runners in all of football. So I think Watson could really take the next step, and their offensive line's pretty good.
Their offensive line's very good.
Yeah. So, and then there's the Jaguars, and out of that whole division, I think the Texans are going to be a lot better than anybody thinks they're going to be. I don't believe the Titans. I think Derrick Henry will be traded before the season starts.
That's the guy the Bills should be looking at.
And the Colts, I think they're rebuilding. I can, as good as the Colts defense should have been last year, they kind of fell apart. They brought in another offensive coordinator, okay? It didn't work with Frank Wright, all right? And I'm just saying, Frank Wright is a good offensive mind. He was a good quarterback he was the backup quarterback for Jim Kelly. We all know what he did. And when he did play, he helped that team, win a couple of big games. And almost
come back in NFL history.
Yeah, so there's no doubt that bringing in another offensive coordinator, and you don't know who your quarterback's going to be this year. You're bringing in Richardson. You cannot start him this year. And if they start Richardson this year, it's a big mistake, just like the Jets did with Zach Wilson.
They also have to keep two other guys happy, too. Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, both on contract years. If they can't figure out a quarterback situation with this coaching staff, they might be gone, too.
And then there's the Chiefs. Again, going back to the Chiefs, we all know they're going to be up for a Super Bowl again. It's very hard to win it back-to-back years. We said it, the last team to do it was the New England Patriots. That was a long time ago.
2003 and 4.
It doesn't have – that's almost 20 – that's 20 years ago. So I don't know. I don't think Kansas City's going to do it again. And Kansas City lost Orlando Brown. They lost some defensive players. They're not the same team they were last year. And honestly, they got very lucky, honestly. And the Chargers – I like Justin Herbert, and they brought back some pieces that I didn't think they were going to bring back. Eckler will be back for one more year, so that does help them. But the question, I still question the coach. I don't think the coach is any good, and that's going to be. And then we all know about the Raiders coach. I think he stinks, and we don't know who their quarterback is. And then the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to take the biggest step. In the AFC, because I think Sean Payton's a great offensive mind. I don't know if he's a big Russell Wilson fan, but if anybody could obviously take 2 steps or 3 steps forward from what he was last year, it's Russell Wilson, who's been successful. Who do we have, Speedy?
We got Jeff.
Jeff, what's up, bud?
Man, don't even count on the Titans. The Titans stink. They're not even a team. They're not even worth mentioning.
No, and I agree with you. The 4 teams that I question the quarterback play this year is the Titans, the Colts, the Texans, and the Patriots. But here's the thing, and I know a lot of people want to everybody says the Patriots are going to look up. I don't bet against the Patriots because they have a coach that knows how to win. And he could find the deficiencies of a team by just watching tape and watching, video. So
that's what we're counting on, because we know Alabama quarterbacks can't get it done.
And I think this ride in the AFC East is going to be the hardest ride. Everybody keeps talking about how good the West is and the South is and the North is. I think the ride is going to be the AFC East, because all 4 teams are good defensive teams. All 4 of them. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 defenses are going to be in the top 10 this year. I really do believe it. I think the Patriots.
I don't. That's pretty much impossible.
Why?
Just because they'll all pretty much eat each other.
Yeah, but again, they play each other twice, right? And if the games could be low scoring. If they keep the games under 20-21, I mean, they could still be elite defenses. And even with the Jets, they played
which isn't going to happen though, because there's too much offense in that division as well. With Josh Allen, with Garrett, so there's going to be more points scored. So that's not really going to happen. I mean, like 2 of them could probably be top 10.
Mhm.
The others might be top 15, but they're not going to all be up there. They're not.
I think all 4 of them could be elite defenses this year. I really do. I think they.
Well, the Jets were what, 6 and the Patriots were 8 last year. I
Yes.
think?
Yep. And the Bills were in the top 10 too. I think
The Bills were top 10 definitely. The Dolphins were the only one that wasn't because their
the
pass
Bills were
defense wasn't
3.
great.
The Bills were 3. The Jets were 6. The Patriots were 8. And I think the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dolphins were 14 or
Right,
13.
but they were only bad against the pass. They were actually really good against the run and sacks too. They got
3 out of the 4 were in the top 10. And why couldn't all 4 of these teams be in the top 10 this year? I think they could.
Because I think their offenses are all getting better.
No question. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers with the Jets is definitely going to give the
Right,
Jets.
like last year, no offense, but last year, when the Patriots played the Jets, dude, you guys had negative passing yards in the second half of both of those games. It's just not gonna happen this year, right? Like, so the Patriots will drop down maybe. You know, it depends. With the pieces they added and lost and whatever, each team, by the way, it remains to be seen how they adjust. You know, I actually happen to think the Patriots defense might be slightly better than last year. The Jets, who knows?
Yeah.
The Bills lost Tremaine Edmonds. I can't imagine losing a player like that makes them a better defense.
No, I will say this. The Jets defense is better than it was last year. There's no question. They added Clark. They had a problem stopping the run. They added Al Woods. They added Jefferson. They added players that are going to help in the middle. That's going to help them stop the run, and it might open the edges. And they did bring in Will McDonald, and they have the edge rushers that I think they lack the depth that they have this year. So I think their defense, if they stay healthy, could be even better than it was last year. I think the Bills are the only team out of the 4 that I question. They lose their defensive coordinator. He decided to step down. I know everybody keeps saying, well, it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal when they're not running that same defense that they've run over the last couple of years, Leslie Frazier. And Von Miller coming back. Is Von Miller going to be the same player? And losing Von Miller that like they did last year absolutely affected him. And like you said, they lose Edmonds, and they lost a couple of pieces. So, yes, I think out of all the teams, the questions will loom for the Bills defensively. More than the offensive side of the ball. I still think they're going to be able to throw. They added a good tight end in the draft in the second round, right? It was the second round?
First round.
Late first round. Yeah. So I think they have enough weapons to produce the points that they could. But if they're giving up as much, like you said, Jeff, it's going to be a long year for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills could be the worst team in this division by the end of the year.
It's also a question of that secondary too. Is Tre'Davious White going to come back to his form? Because when he was hurt last year, those rookies and those second-year corners had to be thrust into number 1 corner roles and like more than where their development. Now I like Kai Urielem as a prospect, but I don't think he's a number 1 type corner. Christian Benford played well, and also the safeties too. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer was hurt, and they just brought Hyde back. But again, are they going to stay healthy too? Is a big question mark too. And the pass rush improved last year for the Bills, but it's going to be as good as, like you said, with Von Miller not being there, because if Von Miller wasn't there at the end of the season, they're not number 1 pass rushers either.
The Dolphins, and here's another thing. The Bills had a problem stopping the run last year. The Jets had a problem stopping the run last year. And the Dolphins at some points this past year had a problem stopping the run. So the only team that didn't have a problem stopping the run is your Patriots. So, and they were one of the best running teams in the NFL. So the Patriots,
they're going to get worse.
No question. I don't know if Macaroni Jones is going to do enough.
He stinks.
Yeah.
Stop trying to put him over. He stinks. I told you when they drafted him. Did you hear me scream when they drafted him?
Yes, I know.
Yes, Zayvon Collins went 1 pick after.
Yep, you had a heart attack. We all know. Hey, listen. I as much as a lot of these experts are saying that this could be Bill Belichick's worst year, I disagree. I
don't think it will be. I think they're going to be better than they were last year.
I think they win 10 games then.
They can't be worse offensively than they were last year. No. That's like the one bright spot. They can't be any worse. So we'll see what happens.
I think the way the schedule is set up for the Patriots, I think they can win 10 games this year. I really do. And I predicted the Jets to win.
It depends on how they play the AFC East, because every year the Jets have been a layup for them. For the past 20 years, it's been a layup. I don't think that that's going to be the case anymore, right? Like Like almost every year. Oh, we're playing the Jets. Great. There's 2 wins. Oh, we're playing the Bills. There's 2 wins. That's not the case anymore.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's going to be the difference. But I don't bet against Bill Belichick. And then there's the AFC North. When this could be the best. I think this could be the best division also in the AFC. And you say they stink, but they have 3 Pro Bowl all-world quarterbacks in this division. They do. And
I'm gonna go with the NFC East for the best division.
Why? It's a horrible division.
The Giants. First of all, the Eagles are the Eagles. The Cowboys, even though I hate their fans, I think they're all mouth-breathing pussies. They still win 10, 12 games every year and pretend they can be something and get into the playoffs.
Their schedule is very competitive. I think this is the hardest schedule the NFC has had in a very long time. I think the Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, and the Commanders it's not going to be as easy as it was last year. They have to play each other. But after that, the Giants have a hard schedule. The Commanders have a hard schedule. The Cowboys have a hard schedule. I'm not worried about the Philadelphia Bulldogs because they just have so much depth. I still think they're going to win 13, 14 games this year. But the other 3 teams, I think this could be the worst division in football. I really do. Besides,
I don't. I think they're all pretty good.
Besides the
They're all
AFC
good.
South,
It's just a matter of the schedule too, because the NFC North wasn't that great last year. Besides the Vikings, and they strived in that. Then they played the AFC South last year. This year, it's going to be a lot.
The
different.
NFC West, I think they have this year.
They have the NFC West and the AFC East is the combo. So
the only team,
right? But the AFC West. I mean, do the Broncos stink? They all their players
NFC
always
West,
get hurt
NFC
every
West,
year.
NFC West,
dude. Even juicier for them. Even juicier for them. The Rams are in full rebuild mode. Everyone is gone. The Cardinals are going to stink out loud with nobody there.
They're going to stink.
I mean,
yes.
Right. And then maybe the Seahawks might be kind of
They had a really good offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it all comes together. The only tough team is the 49ers.
I think the Rams are a lot better than you think they are. Yes, they lost some pieces. They still have Aaron Donald there. They still have Cooper Kupp there, who I think is going to be 100% healthy. Matthew Stafford.
Really but you don't really know how he's going to come back off of an ACL injury.
100%. And that's going to be the questions that have to be answered. And
there's no more running backs there. There's no more wide receivers there. They're all gone.
Yes. And
Matthew Stafford has a broken back every year.
It's interesting. But again, the NFC's weak. But every matchup, they have to play the NFC East has to play the AFC East this year. Mm-hmm. And the Bills aren't going to be easy. The Dolphins aren't going to be easy. The Patriots aren't going to be easy. And the Jets aren't going to be easy.
The Dolphins are going to be a whole lot easier than you think. Tua can't throw it more than 4 yards downfield.
Yeah, but you want to know something? The Dolphins defense is all world. They have a new defensive coordinator. They can get at the quarterback.
Terrific. Did you see how they ended up doing last year when they had to play Skylar Thompson?
Yeah, and they almost beat the Bills in that playoff game.
Right, because their defense is good, but they're going to have no offense. They stink.
All right. Well, I think when you look at the AFC, there's a lot of questions, and the questions are going to have to be answered early in the season because there's a lot of quality quarterbacks in the AFC conference, and it can go either way. There's a lot of good defenses. There's also a lot of good offenses, and there are multiple teams that have good defenses and good offenses. So I think this is probably the most competitive conference, or the AFC has the most competitive conference we've seen in a very, very long time. And we don't know. I think we'll have a lot of surprises. I think there are 2 teams that we least expect that could be surprising. And one of those teams that are going to be, everybody keeps saying the Jaguars. We know that's not a surprise anymore. That's not a surprise team. The team that really stands out to me that could be a very big surprise is the Texans. I think they could surprise. No. I know. They have a great running back. CJ Stroud wants to prove himself. I think he's gonna go out there and really put up the numbers this year. I think that they have a good young coach that understands how to get this defense playing. This defense played very well in the second half last year. They have weapons. It's not like they can't. And they're in a horrible division. It really is. The Titans are going to suck. The Colts aren't going to be any good either. They don't have a quarterback. So
the Titans are going to be tough. I'll give you a little piece of trivia, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a trick question, right? This will tell you how bad the Tennessee Titans are going to suck. Mm-hmm. And it's a trick question. Okay, just hang in there. Speedy might be able to suss it out. Earl, I don't think you're smart enough to get it. We'll see. Can you name the person that is currently in the Tennessee Titans organization with the most career receiving touchdowns?
Oh, I do know this. Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel.
I did see that earlier today. Yes.
He leads the organization in career touchdown passes. For bonus points, Speedy, how many does Mike Vrabel have?
I think it was 10, if I remember correctly.
It is 10. You're correct. 10 touchdowns. Their coach has the most career receiving touchdowns at 10. That's how bad they're going to be.
And he's the coach. That's wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful.
I knew you'd be smart enough to get it. Right? You could see Earl like the.
I don't.
gears were
First of all,
spinning in
I
your
don't.
thoughts.
I don't sit in front of a television. Speedy said he saw it today. Okay, I actually work. All right, so it's not
So
like
why?
All right, you sit home. What are you talking about? What do you do? You bet on the sports. That's what you do. All right.
Yeah, I should send you my ticket. I put 1,000 on the Nugs tonight. And I got another fun thing going, right? This is, dude, you're going to laugh at this. I got another fun thing going. So you know how when you refer people in the book,
Yeah.
you get credit?
Right.
Me and my buddy Pat are transferring all of our funds into Coinbase. And we're each going to sign up 5 people. And we're only going to play parlays with that $1,000 of free play. And whoever comes out on top, the loser owes him 25% of what their balance is.
Wow. Wow. Well, if you bet a lot and you're doing as well as you're doing, I mean, why not?
I've done okay.
You've done pretty
I'm
good.
more worried about transferring all my funds out into Coinbase and having them in Bitcoin. That price crashes. I'm going to lose all my money.
You lose all your
Jesus.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, don't pull off what Odell did.
Yeah.
You know?
That's taking a big
That's going to be
chance.
fun.
That's
going to be fun, though. Only parlays with $1,000.
You're really going to do that? You're really going to do
100%.
that?
Yeah, 100%. Are you kidding? Yeah, 100% I'm going to do it. Because it's not going to cost me anything, really. And if I win, I can make. I mean, if I lose, it'll cost me something. But it's not like I'm spending my own money to do it. It's free play,
Yeah. Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Like throwing shit against the wall. Let's see what's fixed.
Well, I wish you all the luck in the world, man.
It's fun to be retarded.
It's fun to be retarded.
For the first time in my life, I understand what it's like to be naive.
That's bad, man.
We knew it was coming
man.
at
There
some
he goes.
point.
There he goes. It's time to attack the beef.
It was inevitable. Jeff does 2 things when Jeff does 3 things when he calls. Take shots at Alabama quarterbacks, take shots at the beef. The only thing he hasn't done yet is taking a shot at Michigan.
Did you
First
check
of
out?
all-
Did you
First
check?
of all, it's not taking shots at Alabama quarterbacks. It's speaking the truth.
Did you?
Name me a good Alabama quarterback.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that they are good.
Joe
I'm just-
Namath.
But this is what I'm saying, right? When you speak the truth, the people that get mad are those mouth-breathing cousin fuckers in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the people that get, you're going to say something bad. Yeah, they all stink.
Maybe Bryce
They
Young
all
will
stink.
change that. Maybe Bryce Young will change that.
Highly doubtful.
I do
Speedy
too.
weighs more than Bryce Young.
You're probably right. Bryce. That's what I worry about that kid. That kid's going to get beaten up. You know?
This is why I liked. I'm just telling you my reason for it. This is why I like CJ Stroud ahead of him. Both schools have a terrible pedigree of putting people in the NFL, but I'm gonna go with the guy that has the better chance, height, and the weight, and that kind of thing. Right? Like you can't teach size.
No.
What are they?
Both schools have a terrible pedigree. You should have told that to Mark.
I have.
Yeah, I know you did.
I have, and he loses his shit. You know,
he does.
but it's the truth.
Yeah.
The only way I think Bryce Young is going to be any good is if Tom Hanks rolls in that Zoltar machine into training camp, so Bryce Young can wish he was big.
You know what's so funny? Speedy was watching Big today.
I was.
It's a great
It is. He had it on. I said, Speedy, what are you watching? He says, I'm watching Big. I was in the studio. I was moving inside and out of the studio because I was making dinner. And Speedy was like, I was like, what are you watching in there? He says, I'm watching Big. And I was like, oh, what a classic.
What a perfectly timed reference. You totally knew what the Zoltar machine was.
That's right.
We all know.
That's the only way Bryce Young's going to be any good. because you're going to see all of these dudes like Jordan Davis and, Jalen Carter and Aaron Donald. Dude, they're going to get their hands on this kid, and it's going to be a problem. The same thing with Tua.
Tua's a lot bigger than Bryce Young. He's a lot bigger. Tua's like
really.
6'1".
I don't think so.
Yeah, Bryce. Yeah, Tua was what 6'1", 6'2".
Tua's 6'1". Yeah,
but he's bigger. He's stockier. Yeah. He's a stockier.
Definitely over Bryce Young. Definitely over Bryce Young. Yeah.
Right, but I think he's bigger, but I don't think he's like way bigger. Like, I don't think it's like
he's like 205. I think 6'1", 205 or something.
I think
he might be now, or maybe when he was a prospect he was, but yeah, he's a leaner type of quarterback too. And I mean that announced some of the injuries, but again, the injuries also come in all different spots for him too. He had the hip issues in college.
216, 6'1".
Okay,
yeah, that's what I thought he was. He's like 215, 216. He's a lot bigger than Bryce Young. Bryce Young's like 100. I heard he was like 190 pounds.
And think about this. For a second. He's a lot bigger. And when you watch Dolphin games, how small does Tua look? He looks tiny.
Small. Yeah.
Right. So if now Bryce Young's smaller, that's a problem for me.
I think so too. I've said that too. I disagree with everybody saying that Bryce Young is the best quarterback in this class. I think it's Will Levis, and I think Tennessee is going to benefit, not now, but the next couple of years. I think they're going to benefit having Will Levis on that roster.
One of these days, they'll have a guy with more receiving touchdowns than Mike Vrabel.
I'll
tell you, like, here's the other problem for me, right, is college versus the pros. Alabama has so much talent that they look marginally better every week than the other team. Even teams in the SEC, when they play Missouri, Alabama is discernibly better than Missouri or Vanderbilt.
Right.
Everyone's better than Vanderbilt.
Right, but even Mississippi State, right? Mississippi State's not exactly a powerhouse right now either, right? And so that makes Bryce Young when you go to the NFL and it's a much more even playing field. It's going to be so much harder for him to look good. He even struggled with this year's Alabama team, and they were marginally better than so many other teams.
Yeah,
not Tennessee and not Georgia and not some of the teams, but they're definitely better than so many of the teams that they played. That's why he looks pretty good. I think he's going to really struggle.
That LSU game was a defensive slugfest this year, too. Again,
speaking of LSU, have you seen their helmets?
They have a new design? What is it?
Dude, they have air conditioning inside of them.
No, I didn't see that. That's crazy. Is that is that even legal? Like, is that legal? Or?
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
No, I didn't know if there was any rule against it. College football could be stingy with those kind of things sometimes. But that's actually very innovative.
I have no idea how they got air conditioning units in these things, but you got to see the players like trying the helmets on and be like, bro, I'm not even going to sweat when I'm running in August.
No, and then in that swamp area heat, yeah, you definitely are going to need that.
It's crazy. I think Bryce Young's going to struggle. I mean, so everybody can run in the NFL. Everybody can run.
Yeah, I think so too. I would agree with you on that. I don't know if a lot of people that we said, oh, he's by far the best quarterback in this class. And I said, I don't know about that. I think he's too small. And I think it's going to catch up to him. It's going, and we've seen it. We've seen this before. I mean, even Russell Wilson, when he came into the league, Russell Wilson was 210, 215. He was a stocky quarterback. I know he's 5'10", but stocky guy with big legs. I've seen,
but they're outliers, right? Like they're outliers. Everyone goes and I saw Warren
Brinson.
Brinson bring up Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is an outlier. He's an absolute outlier. Every other quarterback has pretty much failed, right? Is it working for Kyler Murray? And he's a midget, and he's super fast and can outrun everybody, and it's not working for him. Is it working for Tua?
No.
Tua's pretty small. Is it working for him?
No.
Right. Like, we can all name the one guy that it's working for, but generally, it's not working.
And everyone should learn from Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson did a very good job at keeping himself not like sliding, keeping himself from avoiding those big hits. And remember, Seattle had a really bad offensive line for much of the beginning of his career too. So he had to really do it on his own a lot of the time, extending plays. And all these quarterbacks, especially smaller ones like that, should learn from that.
Right, but here's the other thing with Russell Wilson. When it was working for him, he was healthy and could run. He got one ankle injury, and now he's a pocket passer, and now he blows.
Well, we'll see.
I mean,
He's competent coaching this time.
What do you mean we'll see? The last 2 seasons have been horrific for him.
Well, hold on one second. His final year with Seattle before he hurt he was having an MVP season. He was. His numbers were right there.
First 6 games
He was killing it.
Then he had one bad game on Thursday Night Football, and then
that was when he hurt his thumb.
That was all right. Yeah, and then there was like one bad game in between, and then that was the game.
And then he had that surgery. He was out for like 6-7 weeks, and he came back at the end of the season.
Last year was horrific.
Yeah, well, he was running a new offense, which everybody thought. Nathaniel Hackett thought he can do what Aaron Rodgers could do, and he can't. It's. Everybody keeps saying, well, he has the same skill as Aaron Rodgers. It's not easy.
And when every good quarterback goes to a new team,
right,
they're always still pretty good. I should tell you, Russell Wilson's not that good. Was anyone screaming, oh, well, we got to see with Tom Brady if he's going to be able to learn?
Tom Brady's a different quarterback.
And
by the way, hold on. When Tom Brady first went to Tampa, he was not playing well until they moved the offense to the Patriots offense. When Bruce Arians was trying to run his offense, it wasn't working. They had to change their offense to the Patriot offense. And then Tom Brady started racking up the numbers. And you know that to be true, Jeff. So it's not.
No, right. They asked him what plays he likes, and he put in some plays that work. Just because he's smarter than Bruce Arians, which, by the way, isn't all that hard. Right? Like it still worked. He went on, he wins the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, did Peyton Manning struggle with Denver? No, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, it remains to be seen with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm sure it's going to work with Aaron Rodgers. No one with good quarterbacks has been like making it, new offense. We got to let him figure it out. No, if Russell Wilson is this $300 million quarterback that everyone's saying he is, that shouldn't have happened last year.
I know, and
he's terrible.
I disagree, but we'll see. Sean Payton,
he's getting older, and he can't outrun people anymore.
Yeah,
you have to give him one more chance though with Sean Payton.
Right, but that's what these smaller quarterbacks rely on: is their legs to scramble around, get out of the pocket, so they can actually see downfield. These smaller guys can't see over 6'8" dudes standing in the pocket. They need their legs. Once your legs go, as a smaller quarterback, you're done.
And I think that when you look at the AFC, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could play. And that's why I think it's going to be very open. And the question is, what quarterback is going to show up week in and week out? And only time will tell. And health, the offensive lines, are they going to be able to protect these quarterbacks when they move inside and out of the pocket? You saw what happened to Josh Allen against the Jets last year. He wasn't the same quarterback after that week. Josh Allen was an MVP candidate until that week when he got hit by the Jets, and he wasn't the same quarterback. Then he went into Minnesota. He lost against Minnesota. He was not the same guy. And the question is this offensive line going to be able to protect him this year? An offensive line that, let's be honest, last year in the second half looked horrible in the playoffs. The Bengals beat the hell out of them. So
that'll change, because I think their running game is going to be better. And so now defenses won't be able to just sit back and just.
Well, how is it going to get better? It's the same running game.
No, it's not.
Who do they have that's different?
Damian Harris instead of Devin Singletary is the one.
Damian Harris, the Patriots. Damian Harris. Yep. Well, I like Damian Harris. I like Damian Harris.
He's a good runner.
Yes, he is. But let's see.
Runner, a hard runner.
All right.
Alabama runner.
But here's a question. We have seen running backs leave the Patriots and not become successful. We've seen this over and over and over again. So we have to see if
we've also seen a lot of running backs from the Patriots leave and be successful.
Okay. Give me 3.
Danny Woodhead.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Who came from the Jets, by the way. Yep.
Please.
They did.
Belichick made Danny Woodhead. You guys looked at little Danny Woodhead and you said no.
No, he played well with the Jets. Rex Ryan didn't like him. Rex Ryan thought that he didn't fit the offense, and he had LaDainian Tomlinson there and all the other guys that he had.
Look, Garrett Blunt was pretty good with the Eagles and the Lions.
Garrett Blunt, right.
All right, that's Blunt. 2 guys.
Hey, great. Curtis Martin.
Get the hell out of here.
Say no to Curtis Martin. Say no to Curtis
I
Martin.
love Curtis Martin. He's one of the greatest running backs of all time. Stop.
Ding, ding, ding. 1, 2, 3. Jeff wins again.
Stop. No, you didn't. That's one guy. Garrett Blunt wasn't that good. Okay, stop with the LeGarrette Blunt.
He was. With the
He
Steelers,
really
yeah.
wasn't.
He was
Danny
the
Woodhead.
Steelers,
What did he
the
have?
Eagles.
2 good years after he left the Patriots. He wasn't that good. Stop with the Danny Woodhead stuff. The only guy that really turned out to be any good was Curtis
Stop
Martin.
with the Danny Woodhead stuff. He wasn't good in San Diego.
Dude, how many
Before he got
years?
hurt, he was
He was
good.
there 2 years. He was
year
good.
and a half, he was good.
That's it.
He was really good.
Oh, stop, Jeff. Stop. The only one that was
Hold on.
successful was
No,
Curtis
hold on.
Martin.
See, this is what's funny. Danny Woodhead's the first one I named, and you both said yes. And now that
No,
I checked
because
out
I'm
all
looking
three,
at his
he's
numbers.
circling back
Yeah,
to Danny Woodhead and
yeah,
going,
because I'm looking at Woodhead's numbers. They're not that good.
He was a top 10 productive running back, though. It just depends on how often he stayed healthy, which after that 2015 season had a lot of trouble.
He
Then
had
Melvin
2
Gordon
good
kinda took
years when
over.
he left the Patriots. That's it. Okay, that's it.
It's all you need to have.
Dude, you know what his career, rushing yards is?
Deion Lewis.
2,238. Wonderful. Great running.
Deion Lewis, remember when he showed up in Tennessee and put the Patriots in a body bag when he showed up in Tennessee?
Stop with the Deion
he didn't
Lewis.
do well the rest of that season.
Stop
though.
with the Deion Lewis. The only guy that was successful that left the Patriots was Curtis Martin. No question. Slam dunk, Hall of Famer. That you're 100% right. Everybody else that left the Patriots was never successful, really, bro. None of them. So we've seen this before. They run differently when they're on the Patriots. James White. You think James White would have been as good a running back if he played anywhere else? No, he wouldn't have.
Been. He might have been. You don't know.
No. It's the Patriots
Some
offense.
people
It's
just
the way they
playing
like
in
to.
that system.
It's the way the Patriots run their offense. They always run it through the running backs. They run it. They have big offensive linemen, and they Bill Belichick is a genius of understanding offenses and defenses, and he especially defenses because he's a defensive-minded coach, and he knows how to run against those good defenses. He sees the holes, and he gets those backs that can deliver that. Look, he brings Burkhead in, and look what Burkhead turned into be. And then he leaves, and he goes to the Texans. He sucks. Okay,
He did slay the Chargers, keep him out of the playoffs.
oh
so.
stop, please.
Hey, Rex Burkhead has been pretty good with the Texans.
Oh stop,
Charger killer
He
Rex
has been.
Burkhead. Him and Zay Jones.
dude. He went to the
class.
He went to a Patriots. He was a Pro Bowl player. He goes somewhere else. He's third stringer, not for 2 years. A year and a half. He was the number one guy.
Yeah, he was a third. No, he was a third stringer. He was behind Sony Michel.
Whatever.
And behind.
I think he was a Hall of Famer. He was a Pro Bowl player. I think he made it to a Pro Bowl one year.
I think he made it with the Bengals. I think as a fullback or something like that.
But
the fact is,
when he went to the Patriots, he really delivered. The thing is we've seen
The
players.
Patriots never have any Pro Bowlers. The only guy that they let be in the Pro Bowl for the Patriots is Matthew Slater. That's it. And then no one else ever gets any credit.
Well, when Vince Wilfork was like a 6-7 time Pro Bowl player, right?
Right, but like he should be in the Hall of Fame. Is anyone voting for him?
Agreed.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame. He'll definitely make it. He's very liked. He will be in the Hall of Fame.
I've been over this with you.
Yeah.
The Patriots have been the best team in the NFL for 20 years, and they have what? One Hall of Famer?
Yeah, well, I understand. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just think that I believe, and I believe Vince Wilfork will be in the Hall of Fame. Tom Brady's going to the Hall of Fame. There are a couple of guys that are on that Patriot
But they
team.
only
that's
got a
making
couple
it.
in. They only have a couple in. It's Richard Seymour. It's
Ty Law.
Ty Law.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's only a couple. All right. Eventually Brady gets there. Eventually Gronkowski gets there. Right. But other than that, who are they putting in?
I mean, Curtis Martin came from the Patriots. They drafted him. So, I mean, he's a Jet. He goes in as a Jet because of the years that he had with the Jets, but he was drafted by the Patriots. So, I mean, I look at these guys. There are guys that were drafted, and there are great players that have been drafted by the Patriots, and they leave the Patriots and they never succeed. And that's why I say about the running backs. The only guy that ever succeeded in my eyes in consistency was Curtis Martin. He's the only one that left the Patriots and succeeded with consistency.
Maybe on offense. They had a defensive player that might have even been better than what Curtis Martin did. Might be.
Who?
Asante Samuel.
Yeah, he was good in other places.
Asante Samuel wasn't a better player than Curtis Martin.
I mean, listen, different positions. So it's
I'm
hard
just
to, like,
saying,
measure,
you're talking about
but
one of the.
Asante Samuel can be a Hall of Famer.
No question.
Easily.
No question. But Asante Samuel wasn't better than Curtis Martin. I mean, Curtis Martin was an MVP candidate. Curtis Martin should have won the MVP that year. I remember that year. He should have won the MVP. Peyton Manning got that MVP, but that Curtis Martin was all over the place that year. He had a fantastic year. I think every single game he had over 100 yards. So I think the Patriots, they don't. I'm sorry?
He's the last good Jet.
Mawai was good. Mangold, Ferguson,
Darrelle
Revis. I mean, they've had
Curtis Martin's kind of it, though.
I mean, Mawai's the center. He's one of the greatest centers to ever play the game. Mangold's one of the better centers that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. Ferguson was the guy was an Iron Man. The guy had missed one game in 9 seasons. As a left tackle, and he was one of the best left tackles in the league. I mean, the Jets have had good players. The problem is they never had a quarterback, and until they get
the
one,
problem is all of those players are spread out over like 30 years, right? Between Curtis Martin and Malik, right? And they needed all those guys on one team.
Yeah,
they also lacked a lot of key positions too. We were talking about earlier with the wide
receiver. They never had good wide receivers,
and then even like corners besides.
They have had good wide receivers. They went and got Keyshawn Johnson. They went and got Santonio Holmes. They went and got some dudes.
But the point is, they have to rely
no,
on.
I'm talking about guys that they drafted, and they brought in Braylon Edwards and Santonio. Santonio Holmes had one good year, and then they gave him that long-term deal, overpaid him. He stunk. Okay, the Santonio Holmes was there for the money after he won a Super Bowl. He was horrible. The Jets have never had. Here's what the Jets' problem for years. They've never had, besides John Abraham, they've never had a great pass rusher. They've always had good corners. Always had good corners. Aaron Glenn was a good corner. Darrelle Revis, you name it. Cromartie. They've always had good corners. The problem with the Jets is no quarterback, no wide receiver, and no defensive end.
Edge rusher was horrible.
They never had those 3 key positions, and now they do. So this might be the year that they can compete for a Super Bowl. They might. We'll see.
You know your organization is truly dog shit when your most famous player is a bartender.
Who's that? Who?
Oh no, he was an Eagle.
He was an Eagle.
My bad.
Jeff. How do you disrespect the Georgia Delphia Eagle Dogs?
I was seeing the green. I got it messed up. I was seeing the green.
All the green just
you were thinking probably about Wayne Corbett, the flashlights.
Wayne Corbett was a good player.
Yes, he was. He was, and he was a great find by the Jets.
Corbett hated fire.
Yeah, well, Wayne Corbett hates a lot of people. Hopefully, he doesn't. He survives a long-lasting life because he's had a lot of concussions, and I could only imagine what his brain.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
Yeah, he had a tremendous amount of. I think he said he had like 12 concussions in the NFL. Wow. That's ridiculous.
Dude. That's nothing, dude. Like that, dude. Here's what makes me laugh about this whole thing about concussions. By the way, I take it very seriously. You know, I take the whole concussion thing in CT very seriously. Like I feel bad for these players. But I laugh when people mention like Antonio Brown and concussions or Corbett and concussions. Dude, those fat fucking linemen probably have 12 concussions a fucking game just lining up against each other and smashing into each other 40 times a game. I mean, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Those linemen have it so bad. But no one talks about it because they're just expected to be, get back up, be fat, and be in the way.
Yeah, well, I think that when you look at the offensive linemen now that come into the NFL, you have to be athletic. I mean, these guys are running 4.8s, 4.9. I mean, you're talking about a 350, 370 pound guy running a 4.8. Brandon Jacobs Jacobs' son, and this is what Brandon Jacobs told us. His son weighs 365 right now. He's 15 years old. He was clocked at the 40. Okay. He's 6'6", at the 40 at 4'8". I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. I get it. I was the one that pointed out the Jordan Davis numbers, right? Jordan Davis runs like the wind too, and he's a huge dude, right? But it's like, dude, the Patriots had a center. Dude's name, I don't know if you'll remember him. Dude's name was Brian Stork.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
Right? Brian Stork had to quit football because he was getting 2 concussions a game. He only lasted 1 season and then just hung around with like brain injuries for like the next 3 years and stuff. And that's all he could play just because his brain was mashed potatoes after one season.
Yeah.
From just smashing into people.
Didn't they have a tackle that was like that too? That's now dealing with a lot of like psychological issues because of the CTE stuff. Ryan something.
Ryan Callahan?
Yeah.
That's not how you know Ryan Callahan.
Okay, there was something with him though. I don't remember.
There
It was
is something.
serious.
It's a whole different thing.
Okay.
He was in Aaron Hernandez doc.
Oh.
Because of Ryan Callahan is openly gay.
Oh yeah, that's what
and he was having the suicidal thoughts and all that kind of stuff and whatever because he thought no one would accept him. And it was, and he was in that documentary. It kind of overlapped with what people were saying about Aaron Hernandez.
Okay, I didn't know if that related to CTE or not. I know it was something serious with him.
And by the way, that fat pig lost. You should see that dude. That dude's like Joe Thomas. Have you ever seen Joe Thomas lately?
Oh yeah,
yes.
We say it all the time. Like how good a shape he's in.
Dude, Joe Thomas.
Yo, Ryan Callahan's the same way. He put in a ton of work, and Ryan Callahan looks like a whole different dude. He doesn't look like offensive.
Dude, I can't believe that's Joe Thomas. When he was in a Muscle magazine, dude. That guy is cut to the brim. He's 180 pounds. This guy, when he played as an offensive tackle, what was he, 310, 315?
Right.
He lost almost 200 pounds. The guy is in tremendous shape. It's unbelievable what Joe Thomas looks like. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you know how Joe Thomas did it?
Running and running the Pentagon. What's that thing called? The
Peloton.
The Peloton. Yeah,
he got a Peloton.
Yes. It's unbelievable. That guy's in tremendous shape, man. I want to know what his regimen is. Because
well, he eats good.
Yeah. I don't, but I try to stay. I'm in pretty good shape too, but I'm not in that kind of shape. That thing is, he is in some friggin' shape, man. Unbelievable.
Right, because he dedicated himself to it. Like he's made enough money with the Browns where he doesn't have to work, and he spent the first 2 years sitting on a Peloton eating salad.
Oh, he looks damn good, man. His wife must be real happy.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah, Ryan Callahan's the same way. You should see Ryan Callahan. Like,
I'm gonna look that up.
Get a picture of get a picture of Ryan Callahan, like football Ryan Callahan, and then like what he looks like now. It's literally Joe Thomas like transformation.
Oh wow! All right, Speedy, you want to ready to do bracket wars?
All right, Jeff, we're gonna do bracket wars, so we'll let you go.
All right, man.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on for an extra half an hour. We usually always do this. All right, tonight, our bracket wars, the number 12 seed, Sean White, versus the number 5 seed, Tommy Brady. And the number 13 seed, Hank Aaron, versus the number 4 seed. You gave him a number 4 seed? Are you nuts? Rafael Nadal over Hank Aaron. You gave Hank Aaron the number 13 seed.
He's the most majors among tennis players, so I just ranked it based on that.
Stop. All right, let's go.
It's time for bracket. It's time for bracket wars.
All right, we'll start with the 12-5. Sean White against Tom Brady.
I'm not a big fan of Sean White, that's for sure. I have my own thoughts of him, but White won the three half-pipe snowboarding gold medals in 5 Olympic Games in 2006 to 2022. White won 13 snowboarding gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 2 bronze medals in the Winter X Games, and both slopestyle and super pipe. White set an all-time record for the single half-pipe run when he scored a 97.75 at the 2018 Olympics. In 2012, White became the only snowboarder to achieve the perfect 100 at the X Games Super Pipe event. White is the only X Games athlete to compete at the Summer and Winter Games in the same calendar year, doing it 9 consecutive years in 2003 to 2011. Sean White really took snowboarding and piping to the next level. He really transitioned the sport into the Olympics and became the face of snowboarding pipe run. And you'll remember 20, 30 years down the road, everybody's going to remember Sean White because of just who he was, how he promoted the product, and how he made millions and millions of dollars endorsing the game and the sport through his talent. So one of the greatest Olympians at his sport, no question. and he could go down as the best when all's said and done, when you look at the next 20, 25 years, when you look at some of these other kids, coming up, because it's not as easy now because he really changed the game. I mean, he changed different runs, different angles on, snowboarding and jumps and stuff like that. He changed the game. So, I think he was the first one to land the 550 or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think in 2006 or something. It was when I was a kid. It was at the X Games. It was the first, both snowboarding and skateboarding to land that particular half pipe jump. And again, like you're saying with popularity,
he's not the greatest. I mean, we all know Mr. Hawk, Tony Hawk, is the greatest skateboarder of all time. There's no question that he is. I mean, the championships that he did, and he transitioned the I believe the skating game, but snowboarding, I mean, it's Shaun White. When you think of snowboarding, the first thing that pops in your head, Shaun White. And I think that 20, 30 years, that's the first. And he's like the Michael Jordan of snowboarding.
Right. And the popularity impact too. We talked about it with Tiger Woods too, like how popular, like he made a sport in golf that was, again, that was just more formal, that was more structured. And snowboarding was just, again, thought of as an Olympic sport, that like there were good European ones, but it didn't have that same American appeal. And same kind of thing with skateboarding. It's actually different rules in the Olympics. So the way that Shaun White does the X Games skateboarding is completely different too. So really has done it well for a long time. Didn't have the Olympic longevity the same way, but still got a gold medal in 2018, which was pretty impressive as well. So he did a lot for both sports.
The number 5 seed, Tom Brady. We all know what he is. Some people call him the GOAT. We have a lot of guys that call him the GOAT that listen to the show. Brady has thrown for 89,214 passing yards and 649 touchdowns in 23 career years, with completion percentage over 64% and a passing rating percentage over 97%. Brady is a 15-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro, 3-time MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year. In 20 seasons of the playoffs, Brady has 13,400 passing yards, 88 touchdowns, a 62% completion percentage, and an 89% passing rating. Brady has won 7 Super Bowls in his career and is a 5-time Super Bowl MVP. Brady is the all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, and fourth quarter comebacks. Tom Brady played 23 total seasons in the NFL. Only Adam Vinatieri, 24, Morton Anderson, 25, and George Blanda, 26, played more seasons. I will say this. He's the only quarterback that's done that. And I don't think we'll ever see that. That is a long time. His diet, what he did, the TB12, he's changed the game. Tom Brady is one of the greatest athletes, one of the greatest quarterbacks. You can argue him or Joe Montana. You can go back and forth who the greatest one of all time is. I took back that, Peyton Manning was better than him probably a year ago, and what he did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he won a Super Bowl. So, extraordinary player, where he was drafted, and really the Jets really brought him into the NFL after knocking out Drew Bledsoe. And I thank the Jets for absolutely causing havoc for the next 23 years for their organization. But Tom Brady, the greatest, I believe, one of the greatest athletes to ever play any sports.
Yeah, and Jeff alludes to it all the time, with how many different players he's thrown a touchdown pass to, because we know how bad the Patriots are at drafting wide receivers. Now, they've had great tight ends in that time, too. They've had good running back. Now, again, receiving back's another question, but all these different wide receivers have just come and gone, and Brady still is going. And I think the Tampa even elevates it even more. Yes, they had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin over there, but learning a new system, rebirthing a new system right away. 1 year. Mike Evans was already there. Godwin was already there. That practically the whole team was there. All they needed is Tom Brady. He changed everything. He won him the Super Bowl. So. Jameis Winston coming off a year of 30 interceptions. That was all it took.
Yeah. Definitely Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Brady, too. I love Shaun White. I loved watching him as a kid, especially with both.
It's not even close.
I feel bad because I think a lot of the events that he was in for the snowboarding came along later in Olympics, like slopestyle came along later in 2014. But I think just Tom Brady was just too much.
I don't think Shaun White would have picked himself over Tom Brady. Okay. That's how sure I am. All right. So it's not even close. Not even close. All right. Number 13 seed, Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron hit 305 with 750 205 home runs and 2,297 RBIs, 240 stolen bases, and an OPS of 928. Aaron was an All-Star 25 times, won 3 Gold Gloves, 2 batting titles, and an MVP and World Series, both in 1957. Aaron is MLB's all-time leader in RBIs, total bases, held the home run record from 1974 until 2007 when Barry Bonds broke his record. Aaron is the 3rd all-time in career hits, 3,771. He would still have 3,000 career hits even if you took away all his home runs, which is amazing. Aaron is 5th in runs scored with 2,174 and is one of the 4 players in MLB history to have 17 seasons of 150 or more hits. Honestly, people forget how great Hank Aaron is. Everybody picks these guys and picks Babe Ruth and all these, Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio, and not even just Yankees, just all time. Hank Aaron is one of the top 5 greatest baseball players of all time. You look at the numbers, you look at the statistics, batting .305 his whole career is ridiculous, okay? And this number really stands out more. 17 seasons with 150 or more hits. That's ridiculous, okay? How many players that have done it? 4?
4. I mean, Babe Ruth, Ichiro, and Ted Williams, I would guess.
It's ridiculous. And he had the home run record. I mean, this guy was a sensational all-around player. There's nothing bad to say. And he came in a time where, racism and all that other stuff, he still went on the field and he still put up the numbers. Hank Aaron, one of the most underrated, one of the greatest, top 5 greatest players to ever play the game.
And he played in 3 different cities, too. Keep that in mind. He was with the Boston Braves and the Milwaukee Braves and Atlanta all at once. And then he played with the Brewers towards the end of his career, too. So he's done it in all different places, new ballparks, too. That's when Turner Field first came in, and Milwaukee was an expansion team. The Brewers at that time at the end of his career, too, and still put up fantastic numbers. And a lot of those stats that really stood out, great longevity, and 20-time All-Star, 25-time All-Stars. The only year he wasn't an All-Star was his first year and his last year.
And his opponent, the number 4 seed that Speedy rated him, Rafael Nadal. Nadal has 22 Grand Slam titles, tied with Novak Djokovic for the most all time. Nadal has 14 French Open titles, 8 more than the next highest player in the modern era. Nadal also has 81 consecutive match victories on clay surfaces, which is the longest streak in tennis history. Nadal has 1,068 match wins to just 220 losses and 92 total titles, 5th most in the modern era. Nadal has been ranked number 1 in the world for 209 weeks and finished as the number 1 player at the end of the year, year 13. So 13 times, I'm sorry. So there you go. Rafael Nadal. There's really nothing more to say. You would argue that Rafael Nadal or Roger Federer are the greatest tennis players in the men's division of all time. But there were a lot of great ones. Connor. You have, obviously, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras. There were a lot of great tennis players. There really were. And they played in a time, there's really no competition, honestly. When you look at the competition right now in tennis, it's Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal. And then they have these other guys that, the competition was so much better in the 90s. There were so much better tennis players in the 90s and the 80s. So that's the only reason why I don't rate him a number 4. I just, who's he beaten besides those 2 other players? There was really not that much talent that he had to play against.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think Andre Agassi and both him and Bjorn Borg, I think also kind of retired at the same time too when I was a kid. And Federer and Nadal really were just switching off because of that. And then Djokovic kind of took over after that.
John Connor played at the time.
Yeah.
There was so much. If you go up and down the 90s and the 80s tennis for the men's division, so much better than it is now in the early 2000s. It's horrible. Could you name the best American player in the last 20 years?
Not offhand.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the one that was dating or married to Mandy Moore.
Yeah, that doesn't help me at all.
I'll get it right now. I'm sorry.
But I'll just say more with Nadal. The other thing, too, is the splits with the clay is very impressive. 14 majors. But again, that wasn't the majority of the surfaces either. And you wonder if that's something that could hold him back. Now, I think he had better longevity than Roger Federer did later in his career, like he still does now. But Novak Djokovic is kind of taking that over. And he might surpass both of them at this rate the rate he's going at. He's just a little younger. So we'll see if that ends up helping or hurting him down the road.
Yeah, I if I'm not mistaken, and I'm trying to find the name, but he played. She dated a tennis player. I forget the American that she dated, but nevertheless, I think he was the best. He was the best American. Andy Roddick.
Andy Roddick. Yeah, okay.
Andy Roddick is the last American-born player that I could say was any good.
Yeah,
honestly.
I forgot about him. You're right.
Yeah. So, and what did he win? One U.S. Open or something like that.
Yeah, he had a better stretch, like 05, 06, and then that was really it after that.
Yeah,
so these other guys really started to take over.
Yeah, so I nothing to brag about. Who do you have, Speedy?
I got Hank Aaron. I think you're.
It's not even close.
I think you're taking this one as well. The only thing, I just don't like the clay versus the grass splits as much too. I think he strived more on that. If he was just playing just on the grass,
nobody. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest baseball players of all time, and you rated him a number 13 seed to him as a number 4 seed.
Yeah,
he is not a 4
There
seed.
were other baseball players too that I rated above him, and it just happened to be that way.
Hank Aaron is way better than Rafael Nadal. I think you can put that up. Nobody gives Rafael Nadal a vote. Even a tennis fan wouldn't give him over Hank Aaron. That's ridiculous.
Well, you'll get to now face Tom Brady in the second round. We both agree tonight.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Great show. It really was. Thank you to Jason DiRienzo. He was fantastic. The Scouting Academy football scout. He is fantastic. Also, thank you to two-time NCAA champion Georgia Bulldogs senior defensive tackle Warren Brinson for joining us. He was great. He really was. He gave us an hour. I didn't think he was going to stay on as long as he was. Good personalities. I think this is one of his first interviews because he's, we were just hanging out and really having a conversation. So he was really, really good. Thank you to all the fans. Thank you to everybody. Who do we have on next week, Speedy?
Nothing planned yet. We'll see.
Right. Also, we're kind of open next week, so that'll be fun.
We have a Ohio State player that said he wanted to come on. Jermaine Matthews is a corner there that we might have on down the road. He also has a clothing line he wanted to endorse.
Awesome.
But he hasn't responded to me in a couple of weeks. We'll see.
All right. So looking forward to seeing who we're going to have on next week. It's going to be a long weekend. There's a lot of basketball and hockey that we could talk about. And baseball. I know everybody keeps saying this is like the slow time for sports, but OTAs are starting. Football's going to start very, very soon. We have Hard Knocks and a lot to talk about. So I know a lot of people are like, there's nothing to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. So don't worry. There's a lot of stories as we hear Scottie Pippen take shots at Michael Jordan and Doug Mishkevich taking shots at A-Rod. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Redundant, crazy nuts. When it comes to going back in time and attacking your former teammates or best friends, it's ridiculous. But
who will be the next one? Maybe it'll be Draymond Green.
I know it. Right. My mom always says it always comes in threes. So it might come in threes. All right. So
unless you're Ben Simmons, who can't shoot threes.
Well, there you go. Ben Simmons can't shoot anything, but that's another story. He's making $38 million a year. Good for him. That's it. We'll be back. Listen to the Weekend Crunch, which airs on 103.9 FM every single Saturday at 7 p.m. No more Islander games, so we will be live at 7 p.m. on JVC Broadcasting on 103.9. If you guys want to listen to it, if you're not from around here, go to iHeartRadio and look up LI News Radio. We are live on Saturday night at 7 p.m. So I hope everybody had a good time. We did, and we'll talk to you next week. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed